we've got them. Indeed we do. At the moment, it's Marco Galetti at the top of the leaderboard, followed by Jean-Baptiste Thomas in the Corvette, the most successful Corvette in VMS at the moment, I believe, in the hands of Jean-Baptiste Thomas. Davide Canton is rounding out the top three, and those top three are crucial because those are the promotion slots as we move into the second half of the season. He sits on 60 points. 10 points back is Christoph Rappel, early race winner and dominator, in fact, Christoph Rappel in that Ferrari. Sits on 50 points. Behind him, Aidan Russell, who was also having a really great run of races at the start of this championship. Eric Nonemacher is in 6th in the number 86 Ferrari on 33 points, with Robin de Poiron in the other Corvette in 7th. Thibaut Texera is 8th on 24 points in that, I've got to say, rather nice number 46 BMW M4 GT3. In 9th, it's the number 55 Vista Jet Ferrari, I believe it is, which is in the hands of Eduardo Dorito on 15 points, with Juan Viviers rounding out the top 10 on 14 points. Outside the top 10 at the moment and at risk of not maintaining their seat for Season 3 is Johan Evora in 11th, Cole Bradbury in 12th, who has had a couple of decent race results, but just not able to string them together at the moment. Mark Warmington in the number 70 Inception McLaren, Craig Foreman in the 46 BMW, the number 27 Heart of Racing Aston Martin of Luciano Achazzo is 15th, with Frank Van Ginneken behind in 16th. Sandis Vasilevsky, sorry, I completely butchered that, in the number 31 BMW is 17th, with Lucas Luke rounding out the 18 LMGT3s that we've got in this championship at the moment. Back to the on-track action, and yeah, just 15 seconds left until these LMGT3 cars are going to come roaring out of the pit lane. Just a reminder for how the race finished in LMGT3 last time out. It was actually, I believe, the race results. I have got them, here we go. So it was Davide Canton last time out who took the win, even with his 5-second penalty. Robin de Poiron in second place, with Marco Galetti, the current championship leader, coming home in third, a position that he's found himself in relatively regularly so far throughout the Silver Split campaign. So those are the guys that we really want to be keeping an eye out on form at the moment. But will the mid-season break maybe have had an impact on their form? Is there a chance that you think that might have happened, Daniel?
I do think, yeah, because not everyone is like, oh, we see the first drift here from Mark Warmington, which is surely only on purpose. Yeah, I think it's always like these guys do know what they do, but I don't think they are always locked into LMU only. Maybe they are also driving other series, other cars, and to stick to one car, especially if it was good before the update and maybe is now driving differently after the update with the new tire model and everything what came with the last patches and hotfixes. I think it will be quite a challenge for the LMGT3s, especially to maintain their spot like they did previously.
Yeah, absolutely. I know what you mean. And just a quick PSA to anyone who says that drifts aren't catchable in LMU since the GT3 tyre update. Can we make a clip of that Mark Warmington drift coming around the horseshoe there? Because that was absolutely humongous and proves that drifts are indeed catchable on these tyres, no matter how unforgiving a lot of the LMU player base deems them to be. Yeah, so only the 7 cars on track, unfortunately, in LMGT3 this evening. A lot of drivers with prior commitments this weekend attending various real-life racing events. Not as drivers, as spectators, but a lot of drivers in the Silver Split I know are attending the Imola 4 hours, the LMS race that's happening this weekend, or attending the 24-hour Le Mans Classic, or even the obviously the British Grand Prix, 75th anniversary British Grand Prix this weekend as well. So that is the reason for that thinned outfield in LMGT3. But this is an opportunity for a couple of these drivers to possibly get some serious points in the bag and move their way up the championship standings. Drivers like Mark Warmington, currently outside the top 10, Eduardo Dorito, who sits at the bottom of that top 10, and I expect would quite like to gain himself some cushion so that he knows he's a little bit safer in terms of keeping his seat for next season. It's also an opportunity, for example, for Galetti and for Davide Canton to stretch their legs at the top of the championship with Aidan Russell and Christoph Rappel not here this weekend either. So as much as it may seem like a small field, there is a lot to play for in terms of the wider championship for LMGT3 at this race, Daniel. And do you think that's something that's probably on these drivers' minds?
Yeah, surely. I think people like Warmington or other ones who are like down the top, outside of the top 10, they are feeling the pressure, I hope, but not cracking under it. So I think they know what's on game, and I hope they do quite well. It will be interesting to see like a little bit of changes in the in the lower part of the standings.
Yeah, for sure. A race that could be really, really important for a couple of these drivers' overall championship positions. And here we go. Mark Warmington is going to be the first to start a lap through the end of the Porsche curves, now down towards the Ford chicanes, to finish off this lap and get started. Some desperate weaving. That'll be from, I believe that's Nonamaker in the background in that black number 86 Ferrari, and Mark Warmington might have just invalidated his first flying lap of the session, which would be really unfortunate because it means he's only going to get one more, but wait and see. It might stay valid. It all depends. We'll have a look. The target time is counting, so it would make sense that it is valid. We'll wait and see until the end of the first sector. Sweeping through turn one, flat out right-hander just about in these LMGT3 cars before coming through the Dunlop chicane. Exit of that corner, really difficult. Off camber, over a crest, down through the sweepers. Got the run towards Tete Rouge. Now, this corner, the one where Mark got incredibly sideways on his opening, well, not his opening lap, on his out lap. Here we go, over the crest towards Tete Rouge. Really important corner. Sets up the run all the way down the Mulsanne chicane. Mulsanne chicane, all the way down the Mulsanne straight. Which obviously has the two Mulsanne chicanes on it. That's where I was going with that sentence before my brain decided to remix the word order for no particular reason. And Eric Nonamaker is fastest through the first sector, and that sector time I don't believe popped up for Mark Warmington, so I believe that is an invalid lap. So it's a 37.630 for Eric Nonamaker in that number 86 GR Racing Ferrari. What feels like it should be a relatively competitive first sector time in this silver split. We will have to wait and see what others can do. Your Galettis, your Cantons, likely to go faster than that, but we will wait and see. And in fact, Marco Galetti has gone slower. It's a 37.867 for Marco Galetti. That Aston Martin maybe not quite as strong through that first sector, maybe geared a little bit more, set up a little bit more for these big straights that we've got coming up in the hands of Marco Galetti, that D-Station Aston Martin. And set up a thing, obviously, that can make a big difference around a track such as Le Mans, Daniel. You've got, obviously, the high-speed technical sections at the end of the lap and at the start of the lap, through after the Dunlop chicane, and obviously the Porsche curves at the end of the lap. But then you've also got the run down the Mulsanne straight and the run down towards Indianapolis, which are just two massive, 3 4 kilometer long straights. So finding a setup that works in terms of having maximum potential top speed without turning into the Porsche curves in the rear end, deciding that it's not interested in staying on the ground anymore, is really, really important for these drivers.
Yeah, it is. Of course, it is. It is always like you need to compromise one thing to get the other thing. It's all about in the technical part about the driver's ability to adapt to I would say critical or rather difficult setup changes, so that you, like you said, that your rear just doesn't step out in the Porsche curves, which would be extremely unfortunate at going like 250 kph. So yeah, it's all about adapting to the changes made to the car and also just keeping the car on the track, especially in the race, because we got a long way to go.
Yeah, hour and 40 minutes, an endurance race here. The onboard shot from Eric Nonamaker at the moment, that middle sector was a 94.249, which is the longest sector time that you'll see in this entire VMS calendar. That middle sector at Le Mans, made up of the entire run down the Mulsanne straight all the way up until just before the Mulsanne corner. A little bit wide of the apex there from Eric Nonemaker, though. He manages to hook it back through, doesn't go off track. It's very similar to a sim that shall not be named in terms of the white line is the absolute track limit there. If you go over that white line, your lap does get invalidated immediately. Mark Warmington just in front of Eric Nonemaker at the moment, who is going to go straight to the top of the timing boards as the first driver to set a lap time. So it's going to be a little bit of a stake in the ground. Let's see what he can do. Is it going to be a sub 4? That's really what he's looking for. Indeed, it is. It's a 3:59.974 for Eric Nonemaker, but it's going to be Marco Galetti, I think that was in the background, coming through straight away. And he's down, but ends up massively up, hugely up in that final sector. Oh, no, sorry. No, those are his personal bests. It was still down on Eric Nonemaker. It's 1.4 seconds off, actually, for Marco Galetti. So Eric Nonemaker has found something in that Ferrari at the moment, although I believe the most recent update in terms of BOP for these LMGT3 cars has favoured those mid-engine machines. And Mark Warmington's round. Mark Warmington is around, and that's going to be his only lap. So that is unfortunate for Mark Warmington. He's not going to get a lap time in. And we'll start from 6th, ahead of Luciano Achazzo, who hasn't gone out on track. Davide Canton slots himself up to 2nd, less than a second off of Eric Nonemaker. So we'll see what he can do as these lap times continue to come in. Only 3/10 down for that was Van Ginneken. We've also got Marco Galetti, who's improving. Only a 10th down on the overall fastest time at the moment for Marco Galetti, which is an improvement of about just less than 2/10, in fact, on his own first sector time. So big improvements possibly coming from the Aston Martin here, Daniel.
Yeah, it is. It's looking very good from him. I think the Aston Martin is too, with the BOP, you mentioned it already, very competitive on this track. I think they did a quite okay job with the BOP. All right, the mid-engine cars are better. But I think still Galetti has a good chance and shot on pole. But yeah, unfortunately from Warmington, who's going to start from P6. But he needs to keep his head down with the grid, which is containing only 7 cars. He does have an opportunity to score big points in to maybe secure his spot for next season.
Yeah, absolutely. That is what he now needs to shift his focus to. Mark Warmington saying that because of the week he's been having, he's not been able to drive the sim much. I have a funny feeling that that's not the same as Davide Canton, a man who probably spends a lot of time on this sim, and that's reflected in that first sector time. Almost a 10th up on the first sector of Eric Nonemaker. Fastest of anyone at the moment is Davide Canton. He's 9/10 down on his last lap from that provisional pole position time of Eric Nonemaker, but he is finding that time all the time at the moment. And here we go, we're about to cross the next timing line, just coming through the Mulsanne corner here, and it's a 10th down, just over a 10th down, but it's massively improving on his own time. He's only about 300ths off of Eric Nonemaker at the moment, and I believe Canton, it was not the last sector that he had problems in on his last lap. So maybe there's the time in this for the BMW, but it's all going to be about those Porsche curves now, which, if anything, you would expect is where the Ferrari would be the best.
Yeah, through the Indianapolis we go, down to the 2nd gear, quick and steady. Yeah, great. Yeah, like I said, the 3rd sector was looking quite good from Canton too. So it's all about that. Yeah, we will look into it. I think he has a great shot on pole. He's my favorite, to be honest.
Just got to keep it clean through the Porsche curves now, the most high commitment area of this track. A little bit of a break down into 4th gear just to get the car settled through that first apex. Should be flat all the way through these next 2 left-handers. A lift just to keep the car settled again. So easy to get the car moving laterally or sideways on these tyres, and that really kills any sort of momentum. But towards the final chicane, he's still 2nd. But crucially, that means that Marco Galetti hasn't improved by enough, I don't believe. Still showing a 2nd is Davide Canton to the line. He needs to find just over 300ths of a second. Oh, massive snap on the exit. Did that invalidate the lap time? Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And that is going to be LMGT3 qualifying over. And I believe that means that Eric Nonemaker is on pole position for what would be the first time in the BPtuning Silver Split. And indeed it is. Eric Nonemaker on pole in LMGT3 ahead of Davide Canton, and Marco Galetti, who snuck up there at the end, just 600ths off of Davide Canton. That could be a very, very good fight between the two title protagonists over second and third. But Eric Nonemaker, I mean, you've got to say, Daniel, it looks like he's got that pace in hand at the moment.
Of course, yeah, absolutely he does. He's almost 1 second faster than Canton and Galetti, who are I would say the favorites for this race to win previously, beforehand. But yeah, it's massive. It's 59 is the only sub 4 which was driven in the LMGT3 qualifying. So I do trust him to do well in the race. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, pit lane is about to open for the hypercars, but with a little while until they finish their outlaps, let's have a look at the championship standings. Matteo Bassan is running away with it in the lead. I think, off the top of my head, I believe he's won every race so far. I'd have to go back and fact check myself, but I do believe that to be true. Nicholas Ulrich is in second in the number 8 Toyota, over 50 points behind Matteo Bassan. Mathieu Bouquet is just 1 position behind in third on 47 points, with Andrea Previato just 2 points behind Mathieu in the number 51 Ferrari. He sits in fourth. Then it's Rasmus Andreas, and the man we were talking about earlier, 10 points off of that top 3, and he sits in P5 on 37 points. Giacomo Teixeira in the Peugeot sits in 6th on 31 points, sharing that points total with Stanislas Pajot in the number 7 Toyota. In P8, is the number 8 51 Ferrari of Philipp Schlichting. He's on 30 points. In P9 is Paolo Ortu in the number 83 customer Ferrari on 21 points, and a point behind him in 10th is Chris Stoltz, rounding out the cars that are provisionally keeping their seats for season 3. Moving outside of the top 10, it's Mohamed Colombo in P11, also on 20 points. In P12, it's the number 50 Ferrari of Robin Deschamps on 10 points. Also on 10 points is Mattia Previato in the number 51 Ferrari. Filippo Cogolo is 14th in the number 15 BMW on 3 points. And then the 3 drivers that are yet to score a point in the BPtuning Silver Split is the number 36 Alpine of Stefan Köhler, the number 20 BMW of Aurelien Pellicore, and the number 94 Peugeot of Michel Balian. So that rounds out the standings update from the hypercars. So we're going to go back to the on-track action for the hypercar field. I believe we've got 11 or 12 hypercars here tonight. We will have a little look. It is indeed 12. And crucially, a few cars that have some serious money in the game when it comes to the championship. Here this evening, we've got Matteo Bassan. He's running away with it. So he could be here, he could not. He probably could not show up for the rest of the championship and still win, at least definitely still get promoted. Crucially, the fight for promotion is wide open. 18 points cover from 2nd to 8th in this hypercar championship right now. Now, I know that sounds, it sounds like a relatively large amount. But with 4 races left to go, including this one, we've still got another endurance race to come after this, which are points and essentially a points and a half. So P1 gets 37 points, for example, rather than the normal 25. That 18-point gap is very, very surmountable by any of the drivers that happen to fall within that P2 to P8 range. And here this evening, I'm just going to count them off. We have got Nicholas Ulrich, he's currently 2nd. We have got Mathieu Bouquet, who's currently 3rd. We have got both the Previatos, which means that Andrea Previato is also here in 4th. Rasmus Andreasen is here, he's in 5th. Giacomo Teixeira, I don't believe we have. Stanislas Pajot we do, and Philipp Schlichting we do. So that is 6 of the 7 drivers that are covered by those positions are here this evening and are likely to try and make some plays to move themselves up into those promotion positions. 2 of them, 2nd and 3rd, really are the only ones that we're still fighting for here, because Matteo Bassan is just undeniably quick. But those will be really, really crucial for these drivers this evening, and it will be what they're thinking about, similar to that LMGT3 fight.
Yes, but the championship positions from P2 to P4 it was, I think they're separated by only like a margin of 2 or 3 points it was, if I'm
Yeah,
correct.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's all on the game now with the with more points to score in this endurance round of um, the silver series. It's I think it will be great entertainment which we will get to see very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing you've got to think about is that if any of these drivers that are fighting within the kind of top 10, if any of those drivers have any crashes or incidents at all, then there's a real chance that drivers such as Aurelian Pellicore or Mohamed Colombo, who are the other two that are here this evening, or even Paolo Ortu, who's in P9, or Robin Deschamps, those guys are all people who are struggling outside of the top 10, apart from like I said, Paolo Ortu. Mohamed Colombo and Robin Deschamps are currently 11th and 12th in the standings. Aurelian Pellicore in 16th hasn't scored any points. If any of those other drivers that we were talking about get into squabbles, have any sort of crashes, and fall down the order, then those drivers could find themselves sitting in the points positions and bringing home some points that, again, similar to LMGT3, could be crucial for their championship hopes of retaining their seat for next season. And at the moment, as we've come through sector 1, sorry if I cut off any sort of reply there, Daniel. It's the first sector time is through for Nicholas Ulrich. He's the first man out on track, and it's a 32.0. So just for context, that is about 5.5 seconds faster than the LMGT3s through that first sector. Matteo Bassan has gone slightly faster, though, a 32.063 for Matteo Bassan. So he's slightly faster than Nicholas Ulrich. No, he's not. I'm completely wrong. It was a 32.011. Thank you for just proving me instantly wrong there, Julian. Julian is our broadcast director for this evening, so he's the man controlling all of the cameras that you're seeing and all the information you're seeing on screen, and just wanted to gently remind me that I was talking utter rubbish there. So thank you for that. Just exposed live on YouTube. Exactly the way I wanted my evening to go. But here we go. Nicholas Ulrich is fastest in Sector 1, which is consistent with the BOP changes that we've seen in Hypercar as well. That Ferrari has received, off the top of my head, I believe it's 8 kilograms everywhere that the Ferrari has received, with a few minor kind of variances up and down at certain tracks. Through the middle sector, it's an 80.401 for Nicholas Ulrich, and it's nothing for Matteo Bassan. So Matteo Bassan is invalidated somewhere on one of his 2 laps. That could be really, really important. Although, in fact, surely there's not a chance that one of these drivers, surely they're not going to be able to sneak 3 laps, right?
I don't think so. I think
Surely they're
they
not going to be able to sneak 3.
no.
Andrea
Let me find.
Previato is there or thereabouts. He's 4/10 off in Sector 1, 3/10 off in Sector 2 from Nicholas Ulrich, who at the moment I believe is the fastest man out on track. All sector times will show as purple for now until someone has put down a definitive best lap time. Yeah, it was. Yeah, 3/10 off in the first sector, 2/10 off in the middle for Matteo Bassan. Not Matteo Bassan, sorry. That's just a completely different person. It was Andrea Previato that we were looking at. And to the line now for Nicholas Ulrich. The last part of this lap, so crucial. Okay. Again, Julian proving me completely wrong. Cutting between Nicholas and Andrea, because Andrea actually had the fastest middle sector. So it's a 3:24.324 for Nicholas Ulrich. We will wait and see what the next official lap time through is going to be. Andrea Previato, 4/10 down in the first sector, but about half a tenth up in the middle. It's not going to be enough, though. Andrea Previato goes second, and it is also, sorry, I got completely confused there. It doesn't have that they're driving the same car. They could have at least picked the 50 and the 51. So Andrea Previato is in second. That's Mattia Previato, who is in now fifth. As Philip Schlichting goes to the top of the timing boards by just 0.05 of a second in his number 51. Ferrari 499p. There's going to be a lot of Ferraris on this stream, everyone. If you're new to VMS, I do apologise because it is a lot of Ferraris. A yellow flag out on track. What are the odds that it's Mohamed Colombo spinning? We'll wait and see. I think it actually might have been Robin Deschamps who's just returned to the pit lane. Mohamed Colombo is on a clean lap. There's a first time for everything, I guess. Half a tenth in the green on his own first sector. So I'm assuming he invalidated some way through his lap.
Yeah, invalidated. I think after the Dunlop chicane, he immediately invalidated his lap. I think I saw him standing there at the side of the road.
Brilliant. Thank you for that information. Matteo Bassan is sneaking up. It's fastest through the first sector for Matteo Bassan by 12 thousandths of a second. And in a fight that already looked very, very close at the front, Matteo Bassan might be about to find his way into it or even slightly ahead of it. Still a long way of this lap left to go, only just about at the halfway mark by the time you've gotten up to the Mulsanne corner. So still plenty of time left in this lap for there to be time gained or even time lost. And it's about another 600ths up in the middle sector. So total now is just less than a tenth up for Matteo Bassan on the overall fastest sector times. Can he hold this all the way to the end? What he's got to watch out for is that other people are likely improving as well. And this might be the first time this season that we haven't seen Matteo Bassan just dominate the entire weekend. Dare I say it, touch wood. I'm going to touch wood now so that I'm not jinxing it. But it looks like we might get a fight in Hypercar, which would be absolutely wonderful to see. Matteo Bassan so far has been running away with it. There's another yellow flag out on track. Not sure who that is for at the moment. And it's Philipp Schlichting down in the first sector, down on his personal best, which is the fastest overall, but up in the middle, which not up as much as Matteo Bassan, though, and that could be really important. Nicholas Ulrich is massively up in the middle sector. It's 3/10 in the middle sector for Nicholas Ulrich. That is huge. If he can carry this through to the end of the lap, I think he would likely be safe from Matteo Bassan. Out of the final corner, Nicholas Ulrich to the line. What's it going to be? Is it enough? No, it's not. He lost masses through the final sector.
Oh man, that's unfortunate. And
Bassan goes fastest.
With 1/10.
Yeah, 10th up for Matteo Bassan. Massive advantage for him. Paolo Ortu puts himself 7th. That could be really important for him, ahead of a few drivers who are around him in the championship at the moment.
And Previato puts him on pole.
Oh, indeed, it is. Andrea Previato into pole position. I didn't see that coming. A 10th and a half ahead of Matteo Bassan. And Mohamed Colombo's gone 5th as well. A slight gulf in the times, I have got to admit. The top four covered by about 3/10, and the gap back to Mohamed Colombo is about 5. And Aurelian Pellicore all over the road here in that BMW, not looking happy in that car at all.
Competitive time. It is not.
No, not a competitive time. Also didn't appear to be a valid one.
Yeah.
Moved Pellicore up to 10th, though, crucially because he did a lap. So he'll start ahead of Stanislas Pajot, Robin Deschamps, and Giacomo Tessera, who's joined this lobby late in the day to take part in the race. So a 13-car field now in the hypercars. But it's Andrea Previato on pole position ahead of a Ferrari trio as Tessera disconnects again. Ahead of a Ferrari trio of Bassan and Schlichting as well. So let's have a little run through of the grid order just before we get going for the race here at Le Mans. Here we go. Here is the grid. It's Andrea Previato on pole ahead of championship leader Matteo Bassan, both in the number 51 Ferrari 499Ps. Behind them is Philipp Schlichting in third, ahead of the best Toyota of Nicholas Ulrich, who is currently in second. in the championship. Mohamed Colombo outside the top 10 looking to get in. He starts 5th ahead of Rasmus Andreasen in the number 50 Ferrari. It's then Mattia Previato and Paolo Ortu taking home 7th and 8th in qualifying. Behind them is Mathieu Bouquet, who'll be looking to pick up a few points ahead of Eric Nonamaka, who sits on pole for the LMGT3s. Second in LMGT3 is Davide Canton ahead of Marco Galetti, the two title rivals on the same row. Eduardo Dorito is in 4th ahead of Frank van Ginneken in 5th in class. Then we've got the hypercars that did not set a qualifying time. Aurelien Pellicore, Stanislas Pajot, then Mark Warmington, Robin Deschamps, and what appears to be a mixed-up starting grid. I'm hoping that is just a UI bug with this starting order, and Luciano Acciazzo rounding out the grid. I hope those hypercars are not going to start amongst the field, because that might be minor chaos. Anyway, here we go. The field going to be leaving the garages shortly, and if this is your first time joining us here at VMS, or if you're a returning watcher, we would always like to give a big shout out to the sponsor of the Contender Series. BPTuning is run and owned by a brilliant driver called Kieran Prendergast, who is one of the drivers in the Platinum Split, one of the fastest esports drivers currently on LMU, and he has made BPtuning.net as his very own home-crafted setup shop for LMU, ACC, iRacing, and more. You can even get one-on-one coaching with the man himself. The setups come for a variety of conditions and for pace capabilities, and he's always happy to sit down and walk you through exactly how to extract the best from what his setups are made to do. If that sounds like something that you're very much interested in, please head to the link in our description and head over to bptuning.net and help Kieran out with his, I've got to say, absolutely brilliant setup company. They are really, really world class. So if you are in the market for any sort of setups, bptuning.net, the link is in the description. Head over there and have a look at what he can do. And Eric Nonamaka, has he missed the start? No, he's back out. He's back there. Oh, man, I thought Eric Nonamaka had missed the start of the race there. That was almost massive drama. But Andrea Previato isn't here yet. There he is. He's spawned in now. We're still missing Philip Schlichting.
Seconds to go.
There
Hopefully
he is.
everyone's going to get out. Yes, it looks all right.
Yeah, Philip Schlichting on the grid. Not choosing to go to the grid by the looks of things. Aurelien Pellicore, and I believe that was Luciano Chatso as well, still in the garage. Interestingly, Luciano didn't set a lap time during qualifying either, so I'm not sure if there's something wrong for Luciano Chatso.
As we get started with our formation app, or the short one, I hope we will get all cars to drive eventually. I hope they will get out of the pits, at least.
Yeah. I would expect they are lining up to get on to the end of the pit lane exit, so they can leave when all of these cars get rolling. It's going to be an intense start to the race, especially in this hypercar field. The top 4 cars covered by just under 3/10 in qualifying. And across this hour and 40-minute race that we've got coming, we're going to see drama, action, and strategy unfold on the track, I'm sure, as Matteo Bassan tries to continue his dominant streak here in the Silver Split, sponsored by BPtuning. But it's going to be Andrea Previato leading them away, a man who is fighting to get into that top 3, into those promotion spots. He has it all on the line. The question is, how hard is he willing to fight? Coming towards the 4 chicanes now, just 4 corners to go until we see that green flag waved. And we roar away here at Circuit de la Sarthe in the heart of northern France. This feels like the slowest outlap I've ever seen in my life.
It does, yeah.
Andrea Previato trundling along at what feels like a speed I could probably run faster than, although that might be giving myself some major credit there, to be honest. Here we go. The hypercar field about to lead us away. There's the green flag. Lined up 2 by 2 by 2 all the way back. And the green flag is waved, and it looks like Matteo Bassan has got the launch. on Andrea Previato? I believe he does. Basan already got his nose ahead of Andrea Previato, and Nicholas Ulrich trying to follow him through. It's going to be 3 wide almost through turn 1. I believe that was with Philip Schlichting on the outside there. Matteo Basan is going to hold the lead through turn 1 and turn 2, the Dunlop chicane, and is out ahead. And oh no! Nicholas Ulrich almost massively into the wall there. How on earth has he managed to keep a hold of that? Mohamed Colombo now looking to get up the inside, but I think he's going to forfeit that place to Nicholas Ulrich through the upcoming right-hander. Indeed he is. But Mohamed Colombo now has to watch out because he's got the Ferrari of, I'm not quite sure who that is, actually forced off track. Mohamed Colombo, whoa, how does he not clip the wall there? It was Rasmus Andreasen fighting with Mohamed Colombo there. And a chaotic start to things here in Hypercar.
As Galetti got past Canton at the start, so we got the Aston Martin on P2 with a second separating him from the leader, Eric Nonamaka. But it looks that all cars got away quite well, at least without visible damage, if I'm correct.
We'll have to wait and see. It looked like quite a whack to kind of the rear left corner of Nicholas Ulrich's car, which caused him to kind of veer off to the right-hand side. So there's maybe a little bit of damage on that Toyota. We'll have to wait and see. He's trying to fight off Philip Schlichting. Meanwhile, Robin Deschamps is up into 5th, as I believe Mohamed Colombo has fallen back down the order a little bit here. He's now running, I think, probably around 7th. Indeed it is. So he's lost positions there to Robin Deschamps and to Rasmus Andreasen. Robin Deschamps at the moment in 5th would gain some major points in his championship battles. Would possibly be looking at moving himself into the top 10. Depends obviously on where the rest of this field finishes at the end of this hour and 40-minute race. And Rasmus Andreasen is hunting him down. Currently in 6th, Rasmus Andreasen looking at the back of the identical number 50 Ferrari of Robin Deschamps. There won't be a move here into Indianapolis. It's just far too high speed in these hypercars for a move to even be thought about. Just a waiting game for an opportunity to open up here, but maybe having to watch out there, because that looks like Mohamed Colombo closing in quite rapidly on the tail end of Rasmus Andreasen through the braking zone for Arnage there. And things still very close in this hypercar field at the moment. The gap at the front, only just about 0.3 of a second, 0.4 of a second. Obviously fluctuating a lot through these higher speed corners where the dirty air does a little bit more to these cars' overall downforce levels. And as we thought it might be, Eric Nonamaka over a second in front of Marco Galetti already, and hoping, I would expect, to stretch out that advantage as this race continues in what could be a very, very good race for Eric Nonamaka. He currently sits 6th in the standings, is 27 points off of being inside the top 3, but this race would reward him with 37 points for finishing where he currently is. And considering that neither 4th nor 5th are currently in this race, Christoph Rappel and Aidan Russell not attending this evening due to having prior commitments, he would leapfrog both of them and be the closest man to getting inside the top 3 as things stand. Obviously, still a long way to go, an hour and 35 minutes of this race remaining. So plenty of time for drama to unfold and for strategy to play out as well.
Yeah, surely. I think the race is now going to evolve into like P2 and P3 race into the LMGT3 class. So I think the two championship rivals are going to fight out on track. I don't think that they are really concerned about P1 at the moment, because I think if your rival is directly in front or behind you, I think it's the only one what you're thinking about. It's not really about P1. It's just about this guy who needs to be overtaken as quickly as possible, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. 12 points currently separate Marco Galetti and Davide Canton. They have got Jean-Baptiste Thomas in between them, but again, a driver who has got prior commitments. I believe one of the drivers who is attending the classic 24 Hour of Le Mans, which is happening this weekend as well. So thinking about the points differential between second and third, I'm just trying to remember what the endurance point scoring is. Oh, hello, that's Nicholas Ulrich getting ahead of Andrea Previato, now side by side on the run down this very long back straight towards Indianapolis. Andrea Previato will keep Nicholas Ulrich pinned to the outside because the inside line is vastly preferred through this upcoming right-hand kink. Almost flat out in these hypercars in qualifying trim, not quite so in the race. You have to lift off a little bit so that you can get on the brakes hard into the apex of Indianapolis. A beautifully cambered corner, which you don't realise, particularly when looking at the off-board camera shots. But when you're on board or when you're actually driving one of these cars in LMU, you really feel the camber through there, almost slingshots you through the apex of the corner. And this is only good news for Matteo Bassan, who now doesn't have to worry about Mattia Previato being in his slipstream down the very, very long straights that we've got here. And Davide Canton's ahead of Marco Galetti. What has happened there for Marco Galetti? The car looks okay. I can't see visibly any damage, but Canton has got ahead at some point and has already pulled out a 1.8 second lead, which I mean, you would have to suggest must have come from either a mistake for Marco or possibly some contact whilst overtaking to be able to have gained that much ground so quickly.
Surely, I suppose it may be an contact, because Canton also lost, I think, 1 or 2 seconds on Nonnemacher. So
yeah, you're quite right.
I think maybe there was something going on between the two championship rivals.
Just to mention, there is no in-game sound.
That's not ideal. Just hearing your reports that we're not getting any in-game sound. We're looking into it. Not quite sure why that would be at the moment, but we will have a look and try and work out what's going on. As we were looking just a moment ago at the battle between Mark Warmington and Frank Van Ginneken over P5 in LMGT3. Both of those drivers could really do with scoring some points for their championship hopes in terms of staying or getting inside the top 10, as Nicholas Ulrich again is hunting down Andrea Previato, this time on the inside towards the braking zone for the first Mulsanne chicane. Looks like Andrea Previato has got the advantage at the very top end, though. No opening for Nicholas Ulrich this time.
Again, he's going to have the slipstream and maybe try to get another move into the second chicane of the Mulsanne straight. He peeks to the inside, which may result in an overtaking position. It is, like always, very close between those two, but he backs out just before the braking point. So yeah, extremely close in both classes. It was in both classes for the podium. Now in LMGT3, the gaps did rise, and with the background of the, I think, collision or the whatever happened there between Canton and Galetti, the gap did rise. But in the hypercars, it's all on the game now, and even P4 Schlichting is also peeking from in the background and watching the two guys fight it out on the track, and maybe he hopes for something that he can profit from.
And there we go. That might be the move. No, it's not. Brilliant fireback from Andrea Previato. Needs to leave the room on exit. There's a little bit more contact. Philip Schlichting now looking to get past as well, but Nicholas Ulrich now ahead, up to second, ahead of Andrea Previato here, and is now the championship leader and the championship second place, running first and second on track. But Andrea Previato and Philip Schlichting still with major points to gain in this race, and it looks like this squabbling is bringing the rest of the field back into things a little bit in the hypercar field at the moment. What I was going to say earlier on is that change in position for Canton and Galetti doesn't bring quite as big a points swing as I thought it might. The difference in points only going to be 4 between the two of them, as we've got a yellow flag out on track at the moment. Not sure who that is for. I'm trying to spot if there's anyone on the little kind of shrunk down timing boards that is losing noticeable amounts of time, but not particularly. And I'm hearing from race direction that it's Stanislas Pajot that was the cause of that yellow flag. He is already retired from this race, only 10 minutes in, and that could be really crucial for some of the guys who haven't yet scored points, because Stanislas Pajot is down there, I believe, towards the bottom end of the top 10. Indeed he is. He's in 7th, so that is surmountable, possibly for your likes of Mohamed Colombo or Robin Dichon, who are currently scoring very good points. In fact, Robin Dichon at the moment would take home 15 points. He currently sits on 10, so would come out of this race with 25, which would put him ahead of, I believe, Paolo Ortu, at least definitely Chris Stoltz, to get inside the top 10, but it all depends on where Mohamed Colombo is, because he's 10 points ahead already in the standings. So lots of intricacies to work out with the championship related to this race, as Andrea Perriato continues to try and get back at Nicholas Ulrich, but that gap is already up to 1.5 seconds, and it's now a little bit of a Ferrari train. Robin Dichon still holding off. I believe that is Rasmus Andreasen behind him in the twinning number 50 499P Ferrari.
As you see in the LMP3 field, Canton is closing up on the leader. He gained 1 second in the last minute. So it's not probably safe another month, I would say. So he needs to keep the car pushing and throw everything in. I mean, it's a long way to go, but still he cannot relax in his position.
No, absolutely not. Has got to try and keep on the ball to keep as many points as he can. Mohamed Colombo covering off Mattia Previato there. Mattia Previato also not currently in the top 10 in the standings. He also sits on 10 points, the same as Robin Dichon, so would score a few points from 8th position. Would pick up 6 points, so it would be a boost for him. Still not quite inside that top 10 for Mattia Previato, but moving closer as he goes to the outside on Mohamed Colombo, a move that I don't expect will work unless he can fire it in really late on the brakes. Not quite. And Mohamed Colombo is going to keep that 7th position at the moment, which would reward him with 10 points, I believe, 9 points for Mohamed Colombo. So that would move him, I'm pretty confident that would move him ahead of Paolo Ortu and ahead of Chris Stoltz. So that'll be up to 9th for Mohamed Colombo in the hypercar standings as the race runs at the moment. The gap between Rasmus Andreasen and Robin Dichon is staying steady around that kind of 6/10 of a second mark. Has been around that same gap for quite a few laps now. Robin Dichon's just doing enough to hold off Rasmus Andreasen, who I don't think is necessarily particularly concerned about actually getting past Robin Dichon. Obviously part of a larger Ferrari train as things stand. Mattia Previato, Philip Schlichting, Robin Dichon and Rasmus Andreasen from 3rd down to 6th, all in that train. Probably just working together, saving fuel, saving virtual energy. Obviously very important in these cars and in this game, because it can save you crucial time in the pit stop.
I think strategy is all a crucial factor in this race, and this endurance round, especially at the moment, train point 6 kilometers long circuit. So I think it's not, even with the gaps always increasing, at least in the top 5, I think it's more and more like getting like I would say lofty, and they are all driving their own races now, not battling it out, at least in the top 5. I think the strategy is one thing we have to look out for in the course of the race, as we see Colombo and Piazza making contact into the Mostain, the first chicane of the Mostain straight. I don't think it was quite a clean move. I don't even know. Can't tell who was misfortunate here. But again, Piazza is seeking the next attack on Colombo. On the outside, maybe.
That would be brave.
It's not quite.
Maybe with the switchback can get the better run up towards the Mulsanne corner though, hidden by the trees here at Le Mans, of which there are plenty, is the battle between Rasmus Andreasen and Robin Duchamp. That gap now down to about 0.3 of a second, which is not particularly surprising considering we've just come off the back of the longest straights in at this track. And Mattia Previato has got past Mohamed Colombo now, so that must have happened in the second chicane. Or on the exit of the second chicane even, which is what I said. I think he'd managed to get that switch back to get the power down better. So he's managed to get ahead of Mohamed Colombo now. Mohamed down into 8th place, whilst Mattia moves up into 7th.
Yeah. Double trap. Didn't remember it. Oh man. Costing precious time, but it's giving us great entertainment, I should say.
Yeah, that is absolutely not what he will have been wanting. Going off into the gravel there, costing him not only the position but also time. Thankfully, the gravel, unlike in real life, I don't believe causes damage in this game. Because in real life, when you run over the gravel like that, because these cars are obviously made so much of carbon fibre, those gravel pieces, when you spit them up at a ridiculously high velocity, like when they come off the wheels, which are turning at, you know, thousands of RPM, it actually punches tiny little holes into the carbon fibre, or at least dents the carbon fibre, which obviously interrupts the airflow underneath the bodies of these cars. And it is really the flaw of these cars, similar to F1, modern F1. It is the flaws of these cars and the diffusers of these cars that make up so much of their total downforce. So when you get dents and tears and holes being poked in the carbon fibre that disrupt the airflow, the cars lose performance very quickly, which is why in real life, in F1 or in endurance racing, or any type of racing, really, GT racing does a similar thing to diffusers as well. You'll see cars that have run over the gravel say, look at the floor for when they next come into the pit lane, because they know that there's going to be that damage from having chunks of stone kind of ricocheting up into the underfloor at, you know, significant speed, hundreds, you know, upwards of 100 miles an hour. Those tiny little pieces of stone are likely travelling at from the speed those wheels are spinning at. So yeah, unfortunate for Mattia Previato, but not carrying the same consequences as it might do in real life.
See an LMP field. Canton is again, I think, gaining quite well on Nonnemacher, so this battle is not over yet. Or it didn't even begin, but I don't think we need to count anyone out in this race with 1 hour and 20 minutes to go. It looks even, I think Galetti has a shot on P2 or even P1 still, because I cannot think of him just like being okay with P3 by any means.
No, I think crucially the gap between Galetti and Nonnemacher has stayed relatively similar, but the gap between Canton and Nonnemacher has definitely come down by about a second in the last 2 laps since Canton gained that second place. Is what that gap has come down by. So it's about half a second a lap at the moment, just less than, that Davide Canton has been gaining. But again, through the Porsche curves, that BMW does seem to suffer a little bit, losing ground through the Porsche curves compared to the Ferrari. And now we're looking at, I'm going to assume that this is Deschamps and Andreasen. Indeed it is. Still fighting over what is now 4th place. What's happened? Who was running ahead of them that we've lost? There's a Ferrari somewhere that's dropped off, and I'm not sure who it is. Mattia Prebiato is ahead of Mohamed Colombo, but Mohamed Colombo is still 7th. Who is it that we've lost from this front end battle? Philipp Schlichting. It's Philipp Schlichting that we've lost. He's down in 9th. So an off at some point for Philipp Schlichting. And he's lost a lot of ground to be all the way down in 9th now, only just ahead of Aurelian Pellicore, who is on at the moment to score his first points of the season. But all the way down to 9th for Philipp Schlichting. He was running 4th. He was in that little train of Ferraris stacked up behind Andrea Prebiato. Not sure what has happened there. I doubt we'll be able to get a replay unless we've got someone in the server who's in the comms box at the moment. We can go into the replay and maybe find out and let us know what was going on. Unfortunately, in-game replays are not something that are available for LMU. It would be incredible if they were, because we could go back and have a look at what might have happened to Philipp Schlichting. But for now, we can only kind of rumour. And here comes the LMGT3 traffic, and this could be fun, because this could be crucial for a few battles, not only in Hypercar, but also in LMGT3, where when drivers get held up is really crucial through traffic, and Robin Deschamps is going to get held up massively through the middle apex here, and on the exit by Frank van Ginneken, and could that be the opening for Rasmus Andreasen to finally get past? That gap now must only be about 1/10 of a second, if not less. And I think this is the closest that Rasmus Andreasen has been in a while, but just not able to gain in the slipstream at the moment.
We see a build-up on the podium again in Hypercars. Ulrich and Prebiato is again, they are separate by only, I think it's 5 to 6 tenths of a second.
Yeah.
They had quite a gap beforehand, but I think the traffic did do its magic, I say.
Yes, as the saying goes, anyone who does endurance racing will know it, traffic giveth and traffic taketh away. It is a completely unpredictable beast, is traffic in endurance racing, because you never know how the car in front of you or behind you is going to react to any given situation. Especially when one car is, as you know, coming up on 40 seconds faster across a lap, and there's gravel being kicked up on the exit of the corner there, which I would assume is going to be from Matteo Bassett, because I don't think there's anyone else in front for it to have been, although it might have been. I think there's maybe the BMW of Davide Canton up the road as well. And he has just lost some time to Nonamaka as well. He lost about half a second, so that might explain that gravel kick up on the exit of Indianapolis. Was it possibly Davide Canton having a little bit of a wide moment?
I think he almost, with the traffic, lost it beforehand, but Galetti did lose quite a good amount of time. I think he was beforehand 5 seconds off Nonamacher, now it's 7, so that could also be the case.
Yeah, another car that lost time through the traffic there was Andrea Prebiato. That gap was as low as 0.6 of a second. It's now back open to about a second again. Although I think Nicholas Ulrich now being on the receiving end of a little bit of traffic as well, and that gap has shrunk back down. It's about a second again. So yeah, the very concept of traffic giveth and traffic taketh away being hit nail on the head there. Nicholas Ulrich gaining all the way through the Porsche curves, whilst Andrea Prebiato was stuck behind traffic, and then when they got to the Ford chicanes, Nicholas Ulrich was stuck behind traffic, and Mattia Prebiato managed to run at full racing speed and gain that time back again.
As we see with the timing sheets, Deschamps and Andreasen is the battle is not over. It was never over, and it's again very close. I think they're separated by like 1/10 of a second, if I'm correct. Yes.
In fact, Andreassen's ahead.
Rouge.
That is Andreassen at the front of the battle there. I'm assuming Robin Duchamp held up behind the BMW. That's got to be of Davide Canton on the run towards Tête Rouge. And Rasmus Andreassen has slipped it up the inside, managed to get to the apex first at Tête Rouge and power out ahead, although that has just been done in reverse by Robin Duchamp, and that was a beautiful example of how to overtake into the chicanes here on the Mulsanne straight. Slipped it up the inside, later on the brakes, got his whole car clear on that first apex, and was then able to hit the second apex perfectly and cut off the nose of Rasmus Andreassen. But Rasmus Andreassen coming back already. He'll have the inside line for the second chicane, even for the first apex, and I assume is about to do the exact opposite to Robin Duchamp of what he just did to him, and indeed he does.
Oh no, it disappeared. Sorry.
Momentary yellow flag. And Paolo Ortu into the pit lane. I'm not sure what that's for. It looks like maybe just a drive-through. Possibly track limits points. Paolo Ortu's coming out of the pit lane. Apparently he had a game crash. So he's had to leave and rejoin the session. That is unfortunate for him. Now down outside of the top 10. I'm not sure how that's affected the rest of the top 10's running order, because I believe Paolo Ortu was just inside the top 10. But Rasmus Andreassen still ahead of Robin Duchamp here, but Robin looking to get past yet again. But I would expect now that Rasmus Andreassen might have the legs to escape from Robin Duchamp. We're only about 10 minutes out from when we might see the earliest pit stops for these cars. They've obviously been doing a lot of virtual energy saving, but at a lap, on a lap this long, it's very difficult to save an entire lap's worth of virtual energy and of fuel to be able to do an extra lap compared to everyone else. So I would expect we will see drivers pitting just around that hour mark, if not just slightly afterwards, as Nicolas Ulrich has now managed to open up that gap to Andrea Previato to almost 3 seconds. Really, really important for him to be ahead, as it will help him massively in terms of securing that second place in the championship. Mathieu Bouquet not inside the top 5 at the moment, meaning he would lose considerable ground. Andrea Previato, though, crucially, he's third at the moment, which would bring home a total for him of 23 points. And he's only 2 points behind Mathieu Bouquet, so Andrea Previato might find himself moving up into that crucial top 3, at least provisionally, if the current order stays the same until the end of the race. For anyone, again, who's not familiar with how things work here at VMS, the top 3 in each split get promoted within their class to the next split on the VMS ladder. The top split is the Platinum split, the second split is the Gold split, and the third split we're racing here in the BPTuning Contender Series is the Silver split. So anyone who finishes in the top 3 gets promoted up into the next tier of the championship, essentially, into the next split on the ladder. And the rest of the cars that finish in the top 10, they retain their seats for the next racing season. That means that anyone who finishes outside the top 10 has to go through what we call pre-qualifying. You're given a set track with set temperatures and track conditions. You have to do 5 consecutive valid hot laps, and you submit your Motec file to us. We look through it and we rank everyone's pre-qualifying times on a public leaderboard that can be seen by anyone in the Discord server. All the information for Season 3's pre-qualifying is going to be coming out in the next few weeks. We don't have a specific time for it yet internally. We're still sorting a few things out procedurally for how it's going to run. But if you're interested in pre-qualifying for Season 3 of the Virtual Motorsport Series, make sure to join the Discord, follow the Instagram, and in fact follow the TikTok as well. We're new onto TikTok as well, so make sure to follow all of our social media pages. We're under Virtual Motorsport Series pretty much everywhere. The Discord link is in the video description. If not, it's in the YouTube bio, and the same for the Instagram. Or you can head to www.virtual-motorsport-series.com and you can find all of our socials links there, apart from the TikTok, which I haven't yet added. So make sure to go like and follow over on the Instagram. If you haven't already, drop a like on the live stream as well, and subscribe to us here so that you don't miss any of the racing action from the Premier Esports League here on Le Mans Ultimate. We're watching along with Eric Nurnemacher and Davide Canton, who does still have Marco Galetti looming in his mirrors, waiting for any mistake from the BMW driver. And it looks like...
Oh, sorry. Go on.
It looks like this is the first time for a while now that gap back to Galetti has been smaller than the gap in front of Davide Canton to Eric Nurnemacher. So Davide Canton starting to fall away from the lead of the race, and possibly starting to fall into the clutches of Marco Galetti, who is running at the same pace as the leader at the moment.
Yeah, this was spot on what I was trying to say.
Sorry, stole the words out your mouth.
Yeah, all good. But yeah, it's, like I said, it's going to build up. I did believe in Galetti, and it was reasonable. I think this is going to be great. I suppose this is going to be great.
Yeah, your prediction coming to life. If you'd like to predict that I'm going to win £1 million, that would be absolutely wonderful if this is how spot on you normally are. But yeah, that gap between Davide Canton and Marco Galetti, only about 2 seconds at the moment. It was open as wide as about 3.5, only about a lap or two ago. And Davide Canton slipping away from Eric Nurnemacher as well. That gap has grown by a second from its lowest. The lowest it was about 2.2, 2.3 seconds, and it's now back open again to kind of the mid to high 3-second range. So that gap just being worked open at the moment. And I tell you who I'm surprised by is Matteo Bassan. Considering that all of the other races have been won by, well, most of the other races, I should say, have been won by a considerable distance. Last time out at Spa, he was only 1.3 seconds ahead, I will admit. But the round before that, round 3 in Imola, the endurance race, he was 19 seconds ahead of Giacomo Teixeira. Round 2, he was 12 seconds ahead of Chris Stoltz. Round 1 actually had the ridiculously close finish between him and Rasmus Andrea. No, he didn't race in the first round, sorry, Matteo Bassan. Or did he? I'm trying to find him. He did, he finished P3. So Matteo Bassan has gotten used to winning races by a relatively considerable distance in the VMS BPtuning Contender Series Silver Split. But Nicholas Ulrich at the moment, keeping him honest, running a very, very similar pace to the hypercar leader. And I can't help but feel that maybe Nicholas Ulrich has got a little bit more in the tank that he isn't showing at the moment. I don't think he's showing his full hand of cards, as you might say. I think he's still got something left. Yeah, absolutely. Our race broadcast just letting us know that 2:59.978 that you're seeing there, that is the fastest lap of the race, and it is Nicholas Ulrich that has set that fastest lap. So there is pace in that Toyota. So I think he's just playing a little bit of a long game here. Keep his tyres in a good condition, keep his fuel and virtual energy usage in a sensible place, keep the gap to Matteo Bassan relatively similar, and then launch an attack later into this race when he's able to utilise the extra pace that he's got in hand. Do you think that might be something he's looking at doing, Daniel?
Surely, yeah, I do think, because the whole I was monitoring the gap between Ulrich and Bassan, and it was always like this up and downs. He was, I think, at some point 2.5 seconds to Bassan, which he is achieving right now also. So I think he got a little more in the tank, and I think there's more to come, for sure. There's more to come. And I don't think Bassan is going to have an easy job like he did have in Imola two rounds ago, I think. Or was it 3?
No, Imola, yeah, 2 rounds ago.
2 rounds ago.
2 races ago now. Yeah, was
Yeah.
where he took the lead and took the win by about 20 seconds. That gap significantly less at the moment, and Nicholas Ulrich still setting a fastest first sector times. That last lap was a 26.2 overall, but he was fastest from his own lap, was fastest by 0.03 of a second. So there is still time in that from Nicholas Ulrich, and I think that first sector time only proves it to me, because that first sector is quite braking and grip dependent through those fast speed chicanes and changes of direction that you have in Sector 1. Philip Schlichting up to 8th, so he's made a move ahead of someone. I assume it might have been the disconnect from Paolo Ortu that has moved Philip Schlichting up the order by a place, and he's now hunting down. I'm going to assume that that is the rear end of the Toyota GR010 of Mohamed Colombo, and indeed it is. Who, from what I've seen on stream so far, hasn't spun this race, which is a major improvement for Mohamed. Anyone who knows Mo from the LMU space will know that he is he's famed for his regular spins. We love him though; it is part of his character. If you go back and watch back the Contender Series streams, especially at Spa and I believe at Sebring, we caught him spinning on the live stream, and I had a little laugh to myself. And Robin Deschamps still keeping Rasmus Andreasen honest as well, keeping on his toes. That gap only 0.4 of a second. So Robin Deschamps proving me wrong when I said that I thought Rasmus Andreasen might be able to pull away here. I've got to say, these two do feel like drivers who are very, very similar on pace, but can't get past each other. It's almost like a DRS train in Formula 1. They get stuck in each other's toe. They're faster than the other driver when they're in the other driver's toe, but then once they get ahead of the other driver, their pace drops off, and the driver who's now behind benefits from the slipstream and goes faster. And it's kind of just a back and forth at the moment, a little bit of a yo-yo effect. But only 0.4 of a second. Currently, that gap. They have got a relatively large gap in front and behind, I believe. Yeah, 10 seconds behind Andrea Previato, and I believe they're a decent way up the road from the 6th place car. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure who's currently running in 6th. Oh, it's Mattia, the other Previato brother. Mattia Previato, who got ahead of Mohamed Colombo, must have been about 4 or 5 laps ago now. And that's the first pit lane call. That's the first pit lane call. No, it's not. I'd tell a lie, because Nicholas Ulrich and Andrea Previato are also into the pit lane, and crucially, that means that Matteo Bassan has been able to do an extra lap, even though he's the leader. So this could be really, really important here. The extra lap, I know it doesn't necessarily seem like a lot, but the virtual energy is what takes all the time in these cars. So if you're able to do an extra lap, it means you pit a lap later, which means you can put a lap less of virtual energy into the car in the pit stop, which at this track where you're using, I would expect probably close to kind of 7 or 8% a lap, is going to save you a couple of vital seconds in the pit stops. And this is what I was saying early on in my little monologue before the race when I was talking about the strategy element is really, really important in these longer form endurance races, don't you think, Daniel?
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, strategy is something in those endurance races, especially at Le Mans, where you have 38 corners, 13.6 kilometers to go. So your lap is like 3 minutes 25. I think it's like the best time currently in the hypercar field. So strategy is always a thing in endurance, but especially at the Circuit de la Sarthe in Le Mans. So I think we have a lot to see now. And we were wrong with the prediction of Ulrich, who has something in the tank. So, yeah, I would not bet $1 million for you to win. I'm not spot on all the time.
No, I think, clearly Nicholas Ulrich didn't have any virtual energy in the tank, but I think he might still have some pace that he can unlock throughout the course
surely.
of this.
Surely. Because also
Well,
on the last lap, he was the gap between him and Bassan was switching. Really, it was at some points 3.5, then it was 2.5. So he knows where to improve, but from my perspective, he just isn't able to do it on one lap and consistently to try to attack Bassan, which he is currently lacking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he needs to be consistent and consistently faster than Bassan, not just on the lap here and there. Absolutely, if he wants to try and get a move done. So it's the top 3 from LMGT3 onto pit lane here. Nonamaka, Canton and Galetti all into the pit lane. So it's now a battle of the pit crews, but also the battle of the strategy. If one of these drivers has come into the pit lane with more virtual energy left in the tank than one of the others, it could be an advantage for them. It will be a full service here, full tank being put into these cars, not necessarily tyres. The tyres should be able to last until the end of the race here. In fact, it's the top 5 into the pit lane, barring Mark Warmington, who stayed out on track.
So Mark Warmington is going to pick up a lead lap on Le Mans, something nice, I think, too. Even if it's not comparable, to the ones Nonamaha did. It's something cool for the record, in my opinion. But he was running P5, right, Warmington? So he's going to pick up some good old points for championship. I don't know how many are awarded for P5. Was it? No, I have to lie. I don't know. How many are you awarded for P5?
P5 in these longer form endurance races has scored 15 points. So Mark Warmington at the moment will be picking up 15 points, which would be really, really vital for him, because he, as I've said, is outside the top 10 at the moment in LMGT3. At the moment, he's on 12 points, so picking up 15 would boost him to 27, which, as things stand, would put him ahead of Thibaut Texera, who's currently in 8th. But we've got to factor in Eduardo Dorito, who's also in this race and running relatively well. Other than that, I don't think there's anyone ahead of him who is scoring major points at the moment. And crucially, in the pit lane, being pointed out to us by our broadcast director Julian, Eric Nonamaka out behind Davide Canton by 6 seconds even. I would suggest that there has been no tyres put on Davide Canton, and there might have been tyres put on at least one side of that number 86 GR Racing Ferrari. Only speculation at the moment. We might get it confirmed. Oh, and again, being pointed out by our broadcast director that when we watched the live pictures, I must have missed it whilst talking about something to do with the championship, that Nonamaka was out ahead of Canton. So I'm assuming it's being confirmed by the broadcast director, is that I believe it was a spin or a half spin at least for Nonamaka. Although upon reviewing the replay, I believe, actually, no, it was out behind Nonamaka. He came out behind, so I'm assuming, and I might be able to get Nicholas to confirm this, that it was it tyres taken for Nonamaka? I would assume it must have been either that or Canton was just really efficient on the virtual energy and had a far shorter pit stop because of that. Okay, so we're not going to be able to find out on the tyre front. But Eric Nonamaka confirmed as having come out of the pit lane behind Davide Canton. So Canton is now the leader on strategy and on pace. As Mattia Previato is, I'm assuming that's behind Mohamed Colombo again.
Yeah.
So Colombo has jumped Mattia Previato in the pit lane. Colombo ran a lap longer. So he's pitted more recently, means that he will have slightly colder tyres from being stationary and rolling down pit road. So Mattia Previato will have an advantage, at least for now, And who have they got behind them? Is it Robin Deschamps that's behind them? Has he fallen all the way down to 7th? Indeed he has. Robin Deschamps, who was right in the fight with Rasmus Andreasen, has lost what must be about 12 seconds here, 12 or 13 seconds. It's, whoa! Really close battling there between Mattia Previato and Mohamed Colombo, rubbing all the way through the apex of the right-hand kink before the Mulsanne corner. And now 3 cars, all nose to tail in the run down towards Indianapolis here for what is 5th, 6th and 7th in the hypercar category.
To Indianapolis. 3, no, it's not 3, right? It was almost.
Oh, I can't help but feel there's going to be a massive crash. How on earth has he caught that? Mohamed Colombo with the most wicked snap of over, and there it is! Into the wall for Mattia Previato. Helped around by Mohamed Colombo on the exit of the Indianapolis corner. That could be massive for the course of this race. Mohamed Colombo getting into the rear left corner. Oh, that is really unfortunate for him. Robin Deschamps gets ahead of both of them, and it's now Philipp Schlichting that Mohamed Colombo is going to have to deal with. Philipp Schlichting, who was running 4th for so long in this race before he had an issue, apparently suffering from some quite severe lag. His car disappeared off the track for a portion of time and then came back again, which is what dropped him down so far. That must have been a pretty severe moment of lag because he lost about 20 seconds to it. But massive drama in the midfield battle for this race.
Yeah, 100%. And if looking into the LMG3 field again, I think Galetti, I don't know if he's on an alternative strategy, but he's lost 8. So he has a gap of 8 seconds to Nonnemacher and 12 to Canton. So this sort of battle evaporated quite quickly after the pit stops. I don't know what happened there, or if he's just having another strategy running.
I think Galetti, he's either got damage or he's just going through a different section of the track, but he appears to be, I mean, he was losing time hand over fist. He's now gaining it back again. But I think maybe held up by some lap traffic maybe. But really got slowed down there. Frank Van Ginneken in P4. He's not got Eduardo Dorito isn't too far behind him at the moment in 5th position.
The extra lap from Wellington has not played out for him because he was running P5 before the pit stops and is now what I assume P6 behind the Mustang and the Ferrari.
The real benefit of the extra lap will come in the final pit stop. That's where we'll really see the benefit for it. There's only going to be kind of between 20 and 15 minutes left on the clock when these cars come into the pit lane for their final service. And being able to go an extra lap will obviously mean that you just have to put less virtual energy in because you don't need as much virtual energy or hence as much fuel to be able to get to the checkered flag. So that's where that lap long overcut will come into its own and where we'll see the advantage from it. Philipp Schlichting ahead of Mohamed Colombo now. I doubt many, if any, drivers took tyres in their pit stops because these tyres should be able to quite comfortably get to the end. The tyres in the World Endurance Championship are they're a model based on something called thermal deg rather than your normal kind of tyre degradation. The idea being that you run a different set of tyres depending on what the weather is, what the temperature's like. So the soft tyres operate at the highest temperatures, I believe. I can't remember which way around it is. I think it's the softs operate at the highest temperatures, the mediums operate somewhere in the middle, and the hards operate in the coldest. But I think it might be the other way around.
I think it's the other way around. It would make more sense because like the soft is more gripping, so it's more the heat is more other way. Yeah, it's the other way.
No, it is.
Like,
it is the other way around.
Yeah.
My theory is what I'm saying is correct. It's just switched. So the hards operate the best in the hottest conditions. Of course they do, because it was the mediums and the hards that the teams all ran through the daytime stints in Le Mans. If it was hot weather that worked best for the softs, they would have run the softs throughout all the daytime stints. So that's just silly from me, to be entirely honest. Short-term memory striking a chord yet again. And interestingly, getting information now from one of our broadcast team as well, that Philip Schlichting is on hard tyres on the fronts and is on mediums on the rears. So possibly thinking that those front tyres get worked so hard through the final sector of this track and through the first sector of this track that it's worthwhile having the front tyres be those ones that are slightly more durable to the heat rather than mediums. And it does appear to be working here. He's pulling away from Mohamed Colombo. That gap opening up to 2 seconds already, and I don't even think he's been ahead of Mohamed Colombo for an entire lap yet. So definitely working at the moment. And I've got to say, Nicholas Ulrich, by the way, this is the first time I believe that his gap has been under 2 seconds and has stayed under 2 seconds for a considerable period of time. That gap has been less than 2 seconds pretty much ever since they came out the pit lane, which at this point was about 12 minutes ago now, so about 4 laps, 3 or 4 laps. So Nicholas Ulrich, again, I think just pacing himself to Matteo Bassan, not over pushing the car, not over driving, because as we know on the physics of LMU, over driving the cars is relatively heavily punished, as it is in real life as well. You've got to drive these cars to a pace that you are 100% confident you can control the car in. Once you start over driving these, you get those snaps of oversteer and that severe mid-apex understeer as well.
We were talking about tires. I think tire advantage for Nonnenmacher did play out if he did pit from the tires, because the gap vanished to only 1.6 seconds as we go around the second chicane, and the thing is being thrown all over the air.
Yeah, the bollard. Looks like the French have relaunched their space program. I didn't know that they were in the space race at the moment, but that thing got absolutely launched off the nose of whichever Ferrari 499P that was. I'm not able to say for sure which one, because we've got, I think, 7 of them on track out of all of the hypercars, 6 or 7 of them on track. So I would love to be able to speculate as to who it was, but I'm not entirely sure. That'll help, because that's the number 7 Toyota in the back of Mohamed Colombo, which means the car in front of him is Robin Deschamps, which means... No, so it was Robin Deschamps who launched the bollard, because he's in front of Philip Schlichting, who's in 6th. I'm smart. I'm about to be shown that I'm very wrong. But we'll wait and see. Yellow flag out on track. Not sure who that's for, and that gap at the front down to about a second now, and Davide Canton probably being held up through the apex there. I know it doesn't massively seem like it, but these LMGT3 cars in the slow speed, in the exceedingly slow speed stuff like Arnage, are actually slightly better than the hypercars. The hypercars obviously have a longer wheelbase and are slightly clunkier through those slow speed sections, because they have to really rely on the grip of the tyres rather than any of their fancy aero stuff. So a slight hold up for Davide Canton, and that means that Eric Nonnenmacher might be within a second by the end of this lap, but I think he's just been lapped by a hypercar, and that has again blown that gap out a little bit to about 1.4 seconds.
Oh, and the hypercar gets a massive snap out of the before the Ford chicane. It is? Yeah, it is. Sorry. Who was this? Was it Previato? It was. It was massively. I wonder how he saved this.
Yeah, absolutely huge moment.
But 7 10 separating Canton and Nonnenmacher just now after crossing the line.
Yeah, and this is where we're going to see this battle really start to unfold. Eric Nonnenmacher, crucially for him, gets out of the first chicane without having that Alpine involved. I think that Alpine might cause problems for Davide Canton into this flowing section here. Indeed it does. That gap has come down again, 0.2 of a second, 0.3 of a second now. And Eric Nonnenmacher is all over the rear end of Davide Canton. Is this going to be the move for the lead? Not here, but I would expect it may well come on the run towards the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. Mark Warmington ahead, and it's Galetti. Galetti's off. Galetti's off. I don't know where, but that's the cause of the most recent yellow flag. He's dropped out of the top 5. And these two now lead this race by 26 seconds to Eduardo Dorito, to the outside for Eric Nonamaker in the number 86 GR Racing Ferrari. He's got the advantage in a straight line. Davide Canton, I expect, will drop in behind before the braking zone. Indeed he does. And Eric Nonamaker is back through to the lead of the race that he's held since this thing went to the green flag at the very start. And Marco Galetti is into the pit lane. Has he got a rear wing on that car? Because I don't think I can see one. I think I can see far too... he doesn't. I called it. I knew it. I knew I couldn't see that Aston Martin rear wing. So Galetti has had a spin somewhere, has gone backwards into the wall. Or at least has had some heavy contact on the rear end that has knocked that rear wing off. And is there a possibility that Aurelian Pellicori was involved? Because I believe that was the number 20 BMW art car that I saw in front of him on pit lane as well. Being told by one of our broadcast team that it was in the Porsche curves and he lost it completely by himself for Marco Galetti. So that is self-induced, unfortunately. And he'll be very, very annoyed about that, I'm sure. And crucially, dependent on where he comes out on track, Davide Canton is now going to score 27 points if he stays in P2 until the end of this race. Marco Galetti, if he comes out anything lower than 5th, will not score enough points to maintain his lead in the LMGT3 Championship. Davide Canton, in that case, would, as things stand, move ahead of him for the lead in LMGT3. And I don't believe we've had any LMGT3 retirements as of yet. So if Galetti falls down to below 6th or 7th, well, I mean, he can only be 6th or 7th. We've only got 7 cars here this evening. Then he would lose significant places, and it is 7th place for Marco Galetti. He's now got 43. Oh, sorry, hiccup. Oh, he's now got 43 minutes to gain back all of that time. That's only going to be about, I mean, pretty much 10 laps in these cars once you factor in the final pit stop as well, which Marco Galetti will likely, or he might be able to cut it. He might get to the end of the race from here. He might not have to make another pit stop, which actually could swing vitally in his favour in terms of gaining positions on the 2 cars ahead of him. The gap to P6 is only 6 seconds. The question is, how far off is Luciano Icciazzo from Mark Warmington? If we could get that information, that'd be vital. It's only 3 seconds then. That's the gap from Franco Van Ginneken. It's only 6 seconds there as well, 12 seconds. So still in with a shout of finishing within, finishing at least 6th, possibly even 5th in this race is Marco Galetti, who might not have to make another pit stop, and that could be crucial for the championship. They will go to tied points if Marco Galetti finishes 5th. Tied on points. And I would have to look back through the race results to tell you who would actually be ahead in that position. I believe it would be Davide Canton, because I think he is the only one of the 2 who has won a race this season. Marco Galetti, I don't think, has taken the top step yet. He's been 2nd and 3rd in pretty much every race. Just clicking back to the start. And indeed it would be Davide Canton who would go to the lead of the championship on countback as the only one of the 2 to have taken a race win this season. So that could be vitally important. We're going to have to wait until the end to see it all unfold. As Eric Nonamaker has pulled out, you've got to say, a huge gap already on Davide Canton. That gap up to almost 3.5 seconds. As we move into the last 40 minutes of this race, you can see the full rundown of the order on the left-hand side. I'll just give you a quick rundown before we move away from this screen. So it's Matteo Bassan leading the way with just about a stint's worth of time left to go, although they are in the middle of a stint at the moment. It's Nicholas Ulrich in 2nd, the 2 title protagonists leading the way, although Bassan has comfortable points in hand, and that is looking to grow at the end of this race as well. Andrea Previato is in 3rd, looking to gain some points on the top 3 and hopefully secure his position in the promotion slots. It's then Rasmus Andreasen in 4th ahead of Robin Deschamps and Philip Schlichting. Mohamed Colombo is on for his, I believe, tied best finish of the season. I believe he's finished 7th before, which would bring home some good points for him and likely move him into the top 10 in that number 7 Toyota. Behind him is Mattia Previato, who is also looking to move into that top 10 and hopefully look at keeping his seat for season 3. Mathieu Bouquet is 3rd in the championship but struggling in this race. That Alpine not enjoying the conditions at its home track. Floundering in 9th at the moment is Mathieu Bouquet, although not far off the back of Mattia Previato, so possibly more to come. Then Aurelian Pellicori is a lap down, came into the pit lane, I believe for some sort of emergency service, as that knocked over advertising board might be a sign of where Marco Galetti lost it earlier on. And that is rounding out, no it's not, sorry, 11th is Paolo Ortu, who I believe suffered a game crash and had to come back into the server and take over the car again to try and finish off this race. He's 45 seconds off, but significant kind of bad luck for other cars might see him move into the top 10 and take home at least a couple of points. In LMGT3, it's Eric Nonemaker leading the way. He made a brilliant move to get ahead of Davide Canton after losing that lead in the pit stops, and it is Davide Canton who runs 2nd. As things stand, he would take the lead of the championship and will do so as long as Marco Galetti finishes no higher than 5th. In 3rd in LMGT3 is Eduardo Dorito, looking for his best result of the season. I don't believe he's finished any higher than 3rd so far, so this would be a very, very strong result for him. Good points on the table as well. Frank van Ginneken is in 4th ahead of Mark Warmington, who is also not only looking to gain some major points, but looking to gain this place off of Frank van Ginneken. We're going to stay on this, I think, for a little bit before we round out the rest of the LMGT3 field, because Mark Warmington is right behind him, although a move is unlikely in the Porsche cars. Oh, massive snap for Paolo Ortu. I think he was too late on the brakes trying to get past Mark Warmington, realised he was going to run into the back of Frank van Ginneken and just got out of it. We're going to stay on this battle. Mark Warmington looking left and right to try and get past Frank van Ginneken. The last two in LMGT3 is Luciano Achazzo and the aforementioned Marco Galetti, who is trying to move his way back up the order to try and take over the lead of the championship again that he currently maintains. But this is the battle we're looking at right now. Frank van Ginneken and Mark Warmington fighting for 4th in the LMGT3 field as things stand.
I don't know what happened. I hope it's only...
Oh.
But it was a quick one.
Is that an early pit stop? Is he trying to undercut? Is he trying to undercut Eric Nonemaker? Does he think... Because he'll be able to run to the end from here. So he's put in enough fuel just to get to the end. And is coming out in very clean air. And is just going to try and... He's just going to try and run it, I guess. Try and unlock some pace that BMW hasn't yet shown to try and get to the lead again. I mean, an undercut from here you'd have to say would be ambitious. The only other place that we've seen an undercut really work so far this season is in the Platinum Split in the Bahrain race, where Timotej Andonovski pulled off a brilliant undercut against his ex-teammate Luke Whitehead, who had been leading the whole race in his Ferrari 296. Timotej making an early pit stop to undercut all the way to the end very early on in the LMGT3 class. Maybe Davide Canton taking some inspiration from that. But yeah, again, I'd have to say that I think an undercut from this stage would be rather ambitious. I don't know about you, Daniel.
I think it's a risky call to make in this stage of race, but also I don't think that Canton really has something to lose in his position, because he had quite a good gap to P3. He was running to P2, so I think he was just trying to do like an opposite strategy of Nonemacher to somehow maybe secure P1. But that's only my opinion on this.
No, that's absolutely true. speculation from the broadcast team that there might have been tyres in that stop for Davide Canton. I'm trying to do the maths in my head and work out how far behind he came out. 50 seconds. 50 seconds would mean that he took... No, that's got to be virtual energy only. You spend about 35 seconds on pit lane here because pit lane is long. Which means he was only stationary for about 20 seconds, which, considering he'd used half a stint's worth of virtual energy, adds up. So I'm pretty sure that's virtual energy only for Davide Canton. It might have been only one side of tyres or only front or rear tyres, but he's definitely not taken a full service there. A full service would have been longer than that. There's a chance that he took, yes, like I say, possibly 2 tyres, but I don't think he's taken all 4. I sound like I'm talking about NASCAR right now. It's kind of weird. As Robin Deschamps hunting down Rasmus Andreasen again. These two were so close for so long at the start of this race, and all the way around the outside, attempted by Robin Deschamps, suffers the classic Mulsanne corner lock-up into the gravel. We've all done that before. As one of the Previato brothers is into the pit lane, I believe that's Mattia, and he might be attempting a similar undercut to stay ahead of Mohamed Colombo and Mathieu Bouquet, who he needs to finish ahead of both of them to really secure his championship position, and for the points that it will bring him compared to them as well.
Yellow flag on. What is...
Only a short one.
Yeah. I just thought
Disappears
I saw some
quite quickly.
damage on the Ferrari Dorito, but I think I just need new glasses or some. Because he was perfectly fine. And Ulrich does not quite have the pace yet to close up really on Bassin. So he has all to play for in the last 33 minutes. I think he has the Hypercars do have a pit stop remaining, don't they?
Yeah, everyone does.
Yeah.
Apart from those who already have. So, for example, Canton and Mattia Previato, and I believe Marco Galetti don't have a pit stop left to make. But Marco Galetti, as we can see, Luciano Chiazza is 92 seconds off of Davide Canton, so that gained pit stop isn't going to mean much for Galetti. The best he's going to be able to do is 6th in class as things stand, unless something else changes, someone has an off or a crash or something similar. Everyone else does still have a pit stop to make. These cars cannot make an hour at this track. There is just far too much flat-out straight line stuff. As Philipp Schlichting comes in as well, possibly looking for a little bit of an undercut. And this might be, what we might be seeing is drivers trying to offset the lapse advantage because of how the virtual energy system works. Obviously, these drivers know that those who have gone a lap longer on the first stint will be able to do so again, and are likely to have a significant advantage on their virtual energy fueling time. Interestingly, Philipp Schlichting looks like he's gone up on the jacks there, which would suggest to me that there's a tyre change for Philipp Schlichting, because you don't have to go up on the jacks to do fuel. So that would suggest to me possibly tyres for Philipp Schlichting. As there's a yellow flag out on track, I'm trying to spot anyone who is gaining or losing significant amounts of time. Yeah, so I was going to say I think it might be Frank Van Ginniken, because that gap to Davide Canton is shrinking rapidly. And was that... is that possibly in connection... Is that possibly in connection to the fact that Mark Warmington is now ahead of Frank Van Ginniken? Could this be a similar situation to what we saw with Canton and Galetti in the early parts of this race, if you can remember back that far? Would have been about an hour ago now. Pretty much bang on an hour ago now, actually, where Davide Canton got past Marco Galetti, but both cars lost significant time, not only to the leader, Eric Nunemacher, but Galetti also lost some significant time to Davide Canton whilst that move was being made. So is there possibly something similar that we've seen just now with Mark Warmington getting past Frank Van Ginneken, and then Frank Van Ginneken losing some time as well. Sounds like that for Frank Van Ginneken was on his own. Don't think it was aided. It was in the second Mulsanne chicane, which makes sense considering where we saw him moving slowly away. We also had a spin for Mohamed Colombo in the Mulsanne corner, or at least an off for Mohamed Colombo. And we're battling for P4. I believe that's Robin Duchant is ahead of Rasmus Andreasen for P4. Oh, side by side! How have they not spun each other there? Oh my days. That looked like Rasmus Andreasen was about to pit maneuver Robin Duchant, other way round, sorry. Robin Duchant looked like he was about to pit maneuver Rasmus Andreasen through the middle apexes of the Porsche curves there. That was absolutely ridiculous. I don't think I've ever seen two cars so close side by side through that section of track before. And I tell you what, absolute credit to the LMU netcode, because in most other racing games where you've got tracks such as this, or any track, you would not be able to get that close to each other without there being some sort of weird kind of netcode contact going on. But Rasmus Andreasen at the moment holding on to fourth, ahead of Robin Duchant. They've now got to manoeuvre past Mark Wilmington. Both of these cars should get him well before any sort of braking zone for the kind of U-bend corners down at the bottom of the hill here. And indeed they do, as Rasmus Andreasen runs a bit wide. Robin Duchant looks to set up the switchback into Tete Rouge. Is he going to be alongside? No, he's not. But can he get the run down towards the first of the Mulsanne chicanes? This, at the moment, the closest battle that we've got on track, although Nicholas Ulrich is starting to close that gap to Matteo Bassan, is he not? That is down to 1.3 seconds, 1.2 seconds. To the outside, Rasmus Andreasen forces Robin Duchant over onto the left-hand part of the circuit, but I think Robin Duchant will probably end up having this, whoa, side-by-side contact. Under braking, Robin Duchant gets that move done. He has been strong on the brakes into that first chicane. On the inside, on the outside, it doesn't matter to Robin. He'll get that move done into the first Mulsanne chicane. Really, really impressive from him.
It's really interesting and strong battle from both the two drivers here. I don't think I can tell anyone. I can tell who is going to be up in front as we see those two making, I think, I suppose, contact slightly.
Yeah, there is, as with most games, the side-by-side contact system is very good, but you can still get what we call gluing or sticking, which I think is probably what happened there. The tyre from one car got, through the physics engine, got hooked or stuck on the side pod of the other, and they ended up kind of pulling each other wide of the second apex, even though that's where neither of them were aiming their wheel, which would explain why Rasmus Andreasen ended up so far kind of out onto the left-hand side of the track. Eduardo Dorito, watching this all unfold in front of him, is just thinking, please can these guys get past me cleanly, because at the moment he's running second on track. Having a very, very tidy race at the moment is Eduardo Dorito. 30 seconds off of Eric Nernemacher, but that doesn't matter to him. And the only car that he's really got to watch out for is Davide Canzon, who I've got to say is closing in slightly. That gap to Eric Nernemacher is only about 44 seconds. 54 seconds for Davide Canzon at the moment. I think that gap has come down. I think it was closer to kind of 57, 58 seconds when he came out of the pit lane. So that gap is at least, hello, massive Toyota branding board. So that gap is at least somewhat coming down for Davide Canzon. We'll keep an eye on it as we get towards the time that these cars are all going to be making their final pit stops. That is likely to be starting for the rest of the field. Within the next kind of 6 or 8 minutes, we're going to see cars coming into the pit lane for their final splash and dash. Virtual energy and fuel only, I would expect, for these splash and dash pit stoppers to get to the end of the race, lose as little time as possible in the pit lane, and then get out on track and take it to the track to decide their final positions. And a driver who feels like he's still got something left to decide in this race, Daniel, you've got to say is Nicholas Ulrich. I genuinely still believe that he's got more in that Toyota that he hasn't unveiled to us yet.
for sure. I'm always like monitoring the gap between us two, and it's never been this close. I think in the whole race, like 1.4, 1.2 second. It was the previous lap and this. So I'm at least hoping for some kind of battle to unfold in the last 25 minutes of this endurance round.
Yeah,
So,
it would be absolutely incredible to see if there would be a battle for the lead. It would be the first time that Matteo Basan has been closely contested by a driver in a few rounds now, apart from Andrea Previato, who got close but no cigar last time out at Spa. And Matteo Basan, I mean, he's got a comfortable enough lead in the championship, but this is a man who is not here for comfortable leads and for handing out points to other drivers. He wants to absolutely dominate, and you can understand why. With $250 on the line, Matteo Basan is not here to play. He wants to get on the road and get on it. And of course, these two drivers, Matteo Basan and Nicholas Ulrich, are the only two drivers who have won a race this season in the Contender Series Silver Split. So that makes this battle even more interesting. Both drivers who know how to win a race. Although, as I say that, Nicholas Ulrich making a mistake up at the Mulsanne corners, lost him about 0.4 of a second. Although I can't help but feel that that's 0.4 of a second that he can kind of just gain back whenever he wants to at the moment, because it very much feels like he's still just pacing Matteo Basan. What I would be interested to know, if anyone's got the information for it, is how their pace is kind of progressing. I'd love to know whether they've both gotten faster across this kind of second stint as Nicholas Ulrich has gotten closer, or if it has just been that Nicholas Ulrich is running slightly better lap times as things stand. But unfortunately, I don't know if we'll be able to get our hands on that information, as much as it would be wonderful to have. But we continue moving towards the last 20 minutes of the race. Pit stops are going to be coming. I've got to think any minute now, right, Daniel? The first proper pit stops, I say, not people who were pitting early to try and offset or anything, came with pretty much bang on an hour left to go on the clock, which with a short formation lap is about a 43-minute stint, and I'm bang on the money. I'm so good. This is our race leader, I believe, Matteo Basan, coming into the pit lane.
Is he followed by the Toyota? Oh,
no, this is Previato. Oh, Andrea Previato.
Oh, yeah.
Into the pit lane. An undercut, possibly, from Andrea Previato. A shorter stint overall, and he's got to watch out because other cars are not going to be doing this. Robin Deschamps has gone a lap longer. So have the two leaders. Rasmus Andreassen's into the pit lane. So Robin Deschamps now inherits third place. He wasn't miles behind Andrea Previato, I don't think, but probably too far of a gap for it to be gained on virtual energy saving. Mathieu Bouquet also into the pit lane. He was running 6th on track when he came in, but that is because there are drivers behind him who've already made a pit stop, one of which we see, I believe, in the background, just coming through the 4 chicanes. Or was that the Ferrari of Eric Nonamaker that we actually saw? Watching overhead of Philip Schlichting, who won't be coming into the pit lane, shouldn't need to come into the pit lane before the end of this race. He came into the pit lane and exited the pit lane with about 36 minutes remaining, which means that he's all good to go, even if this race goes a lap longer after the time has run out. And when Rasmus Andreassen comes out of the pit lane, Philip Schlichting is not going to be far away. Can we cut to that? Because I don't think Philip Schlichting is going to be far behind at all, and indeed he's not. That is very, very close on track for Philip Schlichting and Rasmus Andreassen. These two are going to be running very close to each other, and you'd have to think Robin Deschamps once that final pit stop has been made, which means that we may well see a three-way battle for what will be the last podium position in the hypercar field as, wow, Philip Schlichting gets massively held up by the leading Ferrari of Eric Nonemacher. Nothing that Schlichting could do there. No, that wasn't a Ferrari at all. It was Mark Warmington in the McLaren. I do apologise. My glasses appear to not be functioning anymore. Philip Schlichting, as is being pointed out to me, is on slightly more worn tyres, but the degradation of the tyres themselves, as I've already alluded to, isn't necessarily as important in LMU. It is really the thermal deg of the tyres that matter. As long as you can keep the tyres in the correct thermal window for what tyres you're on, they will be able to last far longer. You have to use the two of them connected to each other. The actual wear percentage will be worse, will be amplified. The lack of grip that you get will be amplified if you aren't able to keep the tyres in the window in terms of their thermal degradation as well. So that is what is equally important on these tyres. So Philip Schlichting, as much as his tyres are likely slightly more worn, dependent on when the pit stops fell, which we can't guarantee when the tyre change pit stops fell if they did. So there is a chance here. The top 4 still yet to pit in Hypercar, and the top 3 yet to pit in LMGT3. Mark Warmington did a multiple lap overcut, I believe, in LMGT3 in that first stint. I think he went 2 laps longer than anyone else. If not at least definitely 2 laps longer than the majority of the field, which means he could make some serious inroads on some of these drivers when they do make their final pit stops, with the lack of time that he will need to spend stationary putting fuel and virtual energy into his car.
To the box, but I wonder why Bassin is not in the box. So...
I believe Bassin went a lap longer last time as well.
True, yeah, you're right, yeah.
So, yeah, this is important for Nicholas Ulrich. Really, he needs the outlap of a lifetime here. He needs a really, really strong outlap, get those tyres back into their operating window as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Matteo Bassin is going to be driving the wheels off of this 499P. Not literally, obviously. He'd quite like to keep the wheels on the car because they're quite useful. But he is going to be pushing that car to its absolute limits around this 13.626 kilometre long lap to try and get back into that pit lane and come out ahead of Nicholas Ulrich. This could be a battle that goes right down to the wire, and I really hope it is, because these two have both driven flawless races, you have to say, Daniel. And to see a grandstand finish with a battle for the lead in Hypercar between the top 2 currently in the Hypercar standings would be absolutely brilliant.
Those two deserve it. I mean, we deserve it as the community deserve a nice and tidy finish of both the drivers, because they had a really clean race, a tidy race, and we are getting pointed out that Ulrich has had no tires put on, just fuel. So it was just a splash and dash pit stop.
Yeah, if he'd taken tyres there, it would have just been costing himself time, you've got to think, Daniel.
Yeah, 100%. I was just reading up what was pointed out by our race director.
No, absolutely.
So I think it may. I believe that there's going to be some kind of battle, like I did say like a half an hour ago. So I have not lost all hopes yet.
What I will say, interestingly, is that all 4 drivers who have already pit are on 47%, or were until very recently. Mathieu Bouquet just ticked down to 46. Nicholas Ulrich has come out of the pit lane and is on 45%. So possibly either just slightly more energy efficient, or is there a risk that he's slightly lower on the virtual energy count than anyone else? And Mohamed Colombo, I just want to point out as well, has 11% currently in the tank. I expect that Mohamed Colombo might be able to go a lap longer than anyone else again, because I think Matteo Bassin will have to come in this time. Possibly, yeah, he'll have to come in this time. Surely 5% isn't enough to do another lap. Got to be in this time, and it is. But Mohamed Colombo, lock up for Matteo Bassin, and I know that it's something small, but it could prove crucial. He's into the pit lane. It's all about the gap now to Nicholas Ulrich. I don't know what that gap is on track as things stand. I can't tell you. Robin Deschamps is also into the pit lane. He's likely to come out right in the heart of that kind of Andreasen and Schlichting battle, which at the moment is covered by about 1.4 seconds. But Matteo Bassan all over that race lead at the moment. But is he going to be able to maintain it? He's roaring out of the pit lane already. And Nicholas Ulrich is 22 seconds away. He's only just coming down towards the 4 chicanes, and Matteo Bassan is going to have a gargantuan lead out of the pit lane here, having only done 1 lap longer. Although he was very early in the pit lane sequence. And he's got to get back up to speed, get those tyres back into their working window. It's going to be close, but it's going to be far, far wider than it was before that pit stop happened.
Absolutely.
The gap closer to 5 seconds back to Nicholas Ulrich, and that having to pit that lap earlier, just being that slight bit less efficient on the virtual energy, has really cost him. And Deschamps has moved ahead of Andrea Previato as well. That late pit stop for Deschamps proving really effective as he moves into 3rd position ahead of Andrea Previato, who's been running in that 3rd place for, I mean, off the top of my head, pretty much the whole race. So the late pit stops really mixing things up as things stand. Nonomak is into the pit lane. And this could prove crucial. 13 minutes left on the clock. Means it'll be closer to 12 minutes by the time he's back out of the pit lane. Confirmed, no tyres for Bassan or for Robin Deschamps, which makes sense. 13 minutes left to go. You don't need to take tyres unless you've got you know, visible thread starting to stick out of the tyre, really. And even then, I'd be questioning whether I needed to, because it's just unnecessary time loss. Davide Canton ripping through the Porsche curves, but you've got to think surely that Nonomak is going to get moving again pretty quickly here. Only needs to take 4 or 5 laps of fuel and virtual energy. And I think he's further down. No, he's again very close to the start. We're going to see Davide Canton actually come through the 4 chicanes in the background. And Mark Warmington's going to be ahead of Eric Nonomaker as well. Mark Warmington with that, again, like I said, multiple lap overcut at the start of the race, is going to have a very short pit stop at the end here, which will see him comfortably into 5th position. I don't think he'll get ahead of Eduardo Dorito. And again, the gap between Nonomaker and Canton open to very similar as it is between Bassan and Ulrich, about 5 seconds, Daniel.
Yeah, I don't think Canton is going to do something about it in the last 12 minutes, but I think it's a stellar job by Canton to like recover the car from what was seeming like a rather P3 finish, I think. Yeah, he was running to P3 beforehand, so I think he quite maximized everything what he could done out of his position. And I want just to make sure, where is the Aston Martin of
Galetti.
Of Galetti, yeah. Is he having a shot on?
Have a look. No, I don't think so. He's still down there. Still down there in 7th, whereas Davide Canton is going to come home 2nd. That is pretty much guaranteed unless there is some serious off crash mistake for someone in front of him, or for himself. Davide Canton looking very likely to come home in 2nd place, which would move him to the lead of the LMGT3 Championship here in the BPTuning Contender Series Silver Split. Make sure to stay to the end whilst we make sure that is going to be the case, although I would say I'm pretty confident that it will be at this stage.
If you're watching Ulrich, he's already gained 1 second in the previous lap. So he's giving it absolutely everything to may catch Bassan. If Bassan does do a mistake, just a small one, a minor one would be would be enough for him to maybe get into a position, although I don't really believe it, but we will see. It's nothing is decided yet until the checkered flag is waved.
No, absolutely. Everything can and most likely will still happen. There you can see the back end, I'm assuming that is, of, yeah, it's got to be too big to be an LMGT3. That is the rear end. And you can see how hard Nicholas Ulrich is pushing here as he wibbles and wobbles his way through the exit of the first Mulsanne chicane. You can see here staying over to the left hand side for as long as possible before crossing over to the right hand side of the track. There is a reason for that. The crest in the middle of the track actually causes these cars to bottom out more, which means that you lose a little bit of top speed whilst the car scrapes against the surface of the road. You lose some top end speed. It all depends on how the car is set up. If you've got it set up right, you can actually use it to your advantage by using the crest in the middle of the road to stall out the floor of the car, which actually causes you to have less downforce and inherently less drag. But in LMU, with the way the setups work, you actually just end up bottoming out over that middle section of the road, which is obviously unideal.
Thank you very much for this technical information.
I've got it all stored away, mate. Plenty of technical information in my noggin. Sometimes I get it the wrong way around, like the tyres earlier on, but most of the time I'm pretty bang on. I like to think. And when I'm not, I get immediately exposed by the broadcast team, like Julian earlier when he was cutting to and from cars just to prove that I was wrong about who was fast and where. No, I'm joking. I do always enjoy being proven wrong. Whoa! Huge spin for Robin Deschamps, and that's going to cause some severe damage to the back end of that car. That's not Robin Deschamps at all, that's Andrea Previato. Sorry, Robin Deschamps in the number 50 is, you've got to say now, surely very safe for his third position. I can't imagine a comeback for Andrea Previato now that he's got that damage. And Mark Wilmington still in the pit lane.
Kenton 1.7 seconds away from Nonnemacher. This is getting quite close to the end now.
Yeah, he's made the gains there as well, hasn't he? Davide Canton came out of the pit cycle, again, about 5 seconds, 5-6 seconds behind Eric Nonnemacher. That gap is down to 2 seconds now. And Galetti, crucially, because Ichatso has had to make his final pit stop, is now 6th. It's not going to go any further from there for Galetti unless someone in the top 5 has a crash, to be entirely honest, because he's going to be about 90 seconds. Because he's going to be about 90 seconds off of the back of P5. So, unfortunately, unlikely for Galetti that it's going to be an improvement, but that is good for Davide Canton because all he has to do is hold out this second place. Of course, that Nicholas, just after saying that he finds joy in proving me wrong, does it yet again. Obviously, because Marco Galetti hasn't had to make a pit stop and everyone else has, that gap has come down from 90 seconds to about 47 seconds. Still insurmountable without a serious issue for one of the drivers in front of him. So it's going to be a maximum of P6 for Galetti, who's going to be annoyed at himself after a self-induced spin in the Porsche curves. Knocked off the rear wing of that Aston Martin GT3. The wonderful Aston Martin V8 Vantage, which has been a staple hold for British engineering in this championship for so long. And in fact, has obviously now got an Evo kit, which I believe is going to be coming to LMU some point. No, it's already the Evo kit that's in LMU, isn't it? I'm talking utter waffle yet again. Before someone can disprove me in our little chat that we've got with the broadcast team, it's obviously already the Evo that's in Le Mans Ultimate. They were the first sim to get their hands on the Evo version of that of the Aston Martin V8 Vantage. So you can delete the messages that you were typing, because I know you were, Nicholas. I know you were. Don't pretend. But the gaps at the front of these fields seem to be stabilising again now. back to about 4 seconds for the gap between Basan and Ulrich, and 2.5 seconds for the gap between Nonamaka and Canton. So I'm not sure how much more we're going to get out of this one.
Yeah, I don't think we will get any more. Although I would love to see any more battles in the top 3 of any of these classes, unfortunately. I mean, maybe the drivers won't be that sad as we are, concerning that there won't be any battles, but I don't know, we will see. There's still, what is it, 2? Maybe, I think after this one, 2 laps to go for the hypercars, if I'm correct, if my math is mathing.
Oh,
not
that almost went very wrong. Nicholas Ulrich there, getting past, that'll be Eduardo Dorito. Almost a big crash there on the exit of the Porsche curves. A corner name that I can never remember, that left-hander out of the Porsche curves. I know it's got its own dedicated name, I can't remember what it is. But almost a humongous crash, and crucially, there's going to be another lap on the end here. Matteo Basan has crossed the line, must have been with about 4 minutes and 12 or 15 seconds remaining, which means that he will not get to the line before the clock hits 0, which means that there will be another lap on the end of this race. Everyone's got the fuel for it, so it literally doesn't matter. Literally doesn't make a difference at all. Ollie, it is the Evo Ari Aston. Thanks, Charlie. I already cleared that up. Charlie's just doing that to annoy me, I reckon. Oh, whoa. Big old sideways moment for Rasmus Andreasen on the exit there, on the run towards Tete Rouge. And again, out over that white line. Managing, I would assume, not to pick up any significant amount of track limits points there. Anyone who knows how LMU works, if you've watched LMU or driven LMU before, know that you get a specific amount of track limits points per race that you are allowed to use up. In the endurance forms of these races, you get 5 of those track limit points, I believe. It might be 4. Someone will tell me whether I'm right or wrong, because they love doing it so much. It is 5. So you get 5 track limits points in these endurance rounds. How it works is whenever you exceed track limits, the game essentially looks at how much time you've gained compared to people around you, how much time you've gained compared to the lap delta that you were already on compared to your best lap, how much time you've gained compared to the lap delta compared to your previous lap, and how much lap time delta you've gained compared to your average lap, I believe. Puts it all together into an algorithm, and essentially works out how big a penalty it can give you. It goes up in chunks of a quarter of a penalty point. So you can get 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, 1, 1.25, 1.5. It keeps going. I think the biggest I've ever seen given out is like 1.5 for a track limits issue, and that's if you literally just like cut a whole corner and just keep going full throttle, just no cares in the world. So yeah, that is how that one works. Luciano Echasso really struggling. Really struggling. 4 minute 38 means that lap was, pretty much 38 seconds slower than what the rest of the LMGT field are running. So been a struggle of a race for Luciano Echasso. He's going to get it to the end though, which I always massively respect. And it's one of the big things about endurance racing. You'll see it in real life as well. Cars that have had severe struggles throughout the race, cars that have even been in the garage for multiple hours, they'll get those cars fixed and they'll get them back out on track to be able to take the checkered flag, and to be able to run until the end. No matter how troubled the cars have been, how far off the pace they've been, the drivers are all focused on getting and crossing the finish line at the very end. And that is a spirit that we see reflected here in the BPTuning Contender Series Silver Split. With about 35 seconds left on the clock, I believe that Matteo Bassan is going to take the checkered flag. No, he's not. He's not going to take the checkered flag. He's already well past the line. Sorry. He's going to start the final lap of this race. He's got a gap of about 3.6 seconds. This is similar to the gap that it was for most of that first stint, if you can recall that far back, Daniel. The gap was about 3.5 seconds in the first stint, down towards about 2.5 seconds towards the end of the stint, then down below 2 seconds for the vast majority of the final stint, until the second stint, until the pit stop blew that gap back open to about 5 seconds. And here we are. Looks like Matteo Bassan is going to be victorious yet again.
Yeah, it looks like it. Again, it was a clean race from both the two hypercar drivers. Just 3 seconds separated them after 1 hour and what is going to be 40 minutes. Yeah, I think they both can be proud of what they achieved, although it's not finished yet. I know. I think they can both be proud and happy with what they achieved. Again, it is looking like Bassan is not in the dominant way he has done it in other rounds of the endurance and more over the sprint races this season. But again, it looks like he is the man to watch out, and he is the man to get a little bit of contact there while getting through GT3 traffic.
Yeah, Eric Nonamaker suffering a little bit of argy-bargy there from one of the Ferrari 499Ps. I'm not sure who it was, in all fairness. I'm not sure there's any of the Ferrari hypercars who have a particular need to be argy-bargy with anyone at the moment. None of them particularly are close enough to launch an attack or to be defending from another car. So a little bit unnecessary, but Eric Nonamaker gets through it cleanly. It's a slower middle sector, as you'd expect, but he's got 5 seconds back to Davide Canton. Again, that gap has fluctuated throughout the race, but back out to a similar level as it was at the start now. Davide Canton looking like he's going to secure second place, and with Marco Galetti down in 6th in class, Davide Canton will go to the lead of the championship. I believe, I'm not sure where Matteo Bassan is on track at the moment, but I think it's actually going to be... oh no, it won't be. Matteo Bassan is ahead of Eric Nonamaker, which means that it is going to be Matteo Bassan who takes the flag first. He's just coming through the Porsche curves now. It has been a race where he has been challenged. He took the lead at the very beginning on the inside in the kink at turn 1 before we even got to the Dunlop chicane. He was through and ahead, and he has not looked back ever since, although he has probably looked in his mirrors quite a bit for the charging Nicholas Ulrich. But it's going to be Matteo Bassan who yet again takes the win here at Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans. Matteo Bassan is your winner for the Le Mans Endurance Round here in the BPtuning Contender Series Silver Split. In Hypercar, it's Nicholas Ulrich who comes home in second. A hard-fought race with Matteo Bassan. Got that gap down as close as a second, but never managed to get within that second's gap after Matteo Bassan took the lead. It's Robin Deschamps who finishes in third. That is crucial for his championship. That is a massive amount of points for Robin Deschamps, who's currently in 12th. It's then Andrea Breviato who crosses the line in 4th, and Rasmus Andreasen in 5th. In LMGT3, we're going to see him now. That is Eric Nonamaker crossing the line to take his first win in that GR Racing Ferrari and return to the garage almost as quickly as he could cross the line. That was crazy quick from Eric Nonamaker there. Davide Canton crosses the line in second, and at the moment he takes the lead of the LMGT3 championship here in the Silver Split. We've got to wait and see as the cars continue to come through. If there's any last minute hairs or scares for anyone, that could all change. Mathieu Bouquet comes home in 7th. That's not going to be enough points for him to maintain 3rd place. Andrea Breviato is going to move ahead in the championship tables. He's going to jump Mathieu Bouquet into 3rd place and into the promotion spots. It's Eduardo Dorito home in 4th place, just ahead of Mark Warmington. He takes his best finish of the season, take home 15 points, and to move himself into the top 10, I believe, in the LMGT3 standings as well. and that's Mattia Previato, the Previato brother, finishing 9th. And it's Aurelian Pellicore who's going to round out the top 10. And he looks like he's in some sort of limp home mode, I've got to say. He looks like he's struggling to get to the line. And in fact, he's not going to get to the line. He's coming into the pit lane. Has he not got enough virtual energy on or fuel on board that car to get to the end? He looks like he's coasting. Which I've got to admit would be funny.
It would. Yeah, he's...
Certainly looks like he's struggling to get to the end. He's into the pit lane. He will cross the line in the pit lane. So he has finished the race. And I'm assuming we'll just pull into his respective garage and then RTG. Rounding out the LMGT3 field is going to be Frank van Ginneken, who I believe is just about to cross the line, if my placement of him is correct. Yes, it was. There we go. Frank van Ginneken has had you've got to say, it's had a really good race, really strong race. Coming home in P6, spent a long time fighting over P4 and 5 with the likes of Eduardo Dorito and Mark Warmington. But coming home 6th, it's still a good points haul for Frank. He's going to be happy with that, I'm sure, in that Mustang. The beautiful, I've got to say, gold and black number 88 Proton Mustang is very, very nice.
It was
Marco.
P5,
Oh, P5. Yeah, I do apologise. Everyone's got shunted around a position because of what happened with Galetti. So Galetti, is going to be in P6, which confirms now that Davide Canton has moved into 1st in the LMGT3 Championship. Crucial for him. And then it'll be Luciano Achazzo coming around to cross the line in about... Oh, he's already RTG'd. Interesting. So that is everything for the race here. But we have got more coming. We're going to do the interviews with any of the drivers, and we also need to have a look through, of course, the final race result order. If we could get that up on stream, we'll have a talk through it, and then we will go to the driver interviews. That's not the race results. There they are. In the end, it was Matteo Bassan who took the win ahead of Nicholas Ulrich. Then it was Robin Deschamps, Andrea Braviato, Rasmus Andreasen, Philip Schlichting, Matthew Bouquet, Mohamed Colombo, Mattia Braviato, and Aurelian Pellicore rounding out the top 10 in Hypercar. The only other Hypercar to take the flag, I believe, was Paolo Ortu. We'll just wait for the race results to flip over. Oh. Yeah, so it was Paolo Ortu who finished 11th, and then off the top of my head, it would have been Stanislas Pajot, who retired, was 12th. So then in LMGT3, which I believe we can jump to, it was of course Eric Nonamaker who took the win, ahead of Davide Canton, Eduardo Dorito, Mark Warmington, Frank van Ginneken, Marco Galetti, and Luciano Achazzo, who finished a lap down in the end, returning to garage before he could finish his race. And we do indeed have drivers waiting for an interview. The first driver that I think we will pull down is going to be Rasmus Andreasen, a man who's had some very, very strong results so far this season, and again, proving that he can be there fighting at the sharp end of the field, although possibly losing out to a late overcut and short pit stop for a competitor. Rasmus, how was that race for you?
Sweating.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally physically sweat right now. But yeah, it was intense. As you mentioned, I lost some ground due to strategy. Like right at the start, I made a mistake in qualifying, so it should maybe 1 or 2 places higher. But in the end, Robin Deschamps, I had an intense battle with him, to be honest. And yeah, it seems like he changed tires at the first stop. I considered that as well, but I thought, okay, I'm just gonna double stint these tires and then have a insane pace at the end. But somehow we had like 3 cars between us. It seems like on the MFD he got just led through by those 3 cars, just a clear to chase me down, and then he also managed to save some extra fuel. So I didn't have enough of a pace advantage to reel him in. The gap was too big.
Yeah, absolutely. That battle with Robin Deschamps was actually one of the most intense battles that we had throughout the length of that race. If you go back and watch the stream back, or if you happen to have the stream playing whilst you were driving, you will notice that we spent a lot of time talking about that particular battle. You two kind of trading that position back and forth. The way I said it on stream was that it seemed like you both had very, very similar pace. But obviously, because one of you was always in front, whichever car was behind was faster because they had the benefit of the slipstream. It is very much what it felt like. I don't know if that's what it seemed like to you on track as well.
Both yes and no. I felt in general he had a tiny bit more straight line speed than I did. I had to be within like 2/10 before I even got a tow or a slipstream. That's how I could actually been able to get past him. Otherwise, I was just stuck. Otherwise, I felt he was like within half a second. He already got the tow there. But it was very clear. Basically from Mulsanne corner to the end of the Porsche curves, I was almost pushing him around, especially in the Porsche curves. I had very strong pace through there. And I could see through the first thing he was struggling quite a bit with his tires. He was sliding and washing out. But I somehow, I have been looking after the tires a bit and was managed to stay on the optimal racing line. In general, I had a bit. So when I finally got past him, I was able to pull a bit of a gap.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking forward to the next round. We've obviously got. Looking forward to the next round. We've obviously got the Qatar sprint round. Do you think again that's going to be a race where you're able to look at fighting within that top 5, bringing home some strong points?
It's gonna be the first time you hear me say this, but I have absolutely no clue. I never driven the Qatar circuit ever in my entire life, so I need to start practicing. So, I just just gonna pray a lot and hopefully gonna beat Matteo for once.
Well, you've got 2 weeks, so get on it. 14 days countdown, and I hope to see you in Qatar having another good race.
Thank you, Ollie.
Thank you, Rasmus. Have a good one. Have a good rest of your evening. Bye. Bye. Moving on, I tell you what, let's keep it within hypercar for now, and we'll bring down the second place finisher in hypercar. It's Nicholas Ulrich, who has had an absolutely brilliant race there. One of only 2 race winners in the silver split so far this season, and was absolutely hounding Matteo Bassan through that middle stint. But unfortunately, that lap overcut at the end undid all of that progress for you, Nicholas. But still a brilliant race result for you. How was that?
Yeah, it was a really great race, really tough because of the hot temperatures outside. But it was great. So the pace at the beginning, I think that the pace will not be there, but it was there. So the Toyota was flying. But on the straights, this was really hard between the Ferraris because Andre Previato at the beginning, 4i4 came here more on the straights, and I must really really work for the position with him. But it was a great race. The tires was at the end cooked, so 40% or something. So I don't change tires. and some of the other people changed tires, I think, at the end. But Matteo and I don't change tires. I was seeing that I will lose a position when I change tires, and I don't want to risk my position because track position for the Toyota is really important. And but at the end it was a great race, great result, and really important for the championship at the moment. So I hope next time it will also be that good in the championship. It looks good, I think, after this race.
Yeah, absolutely. A really, really strong result for you. Obviously moves you further ahead of not only Mathieu Bouquet, but also Andrea Prebiato, who obviously finished in, I believe, 4th position in that one. So second position looking more and more comfortable for you at the moment, which would obviously bring promotion to the gold split for season 3 as well. Do you think that this momentum from Le Mans will be something that you're able to carry to Qatar in 2 weeks' time?
I think Qatar is a nice track for the Toyota, so I hope the pace will be there. And all 3 tracks that we will drive are not that bad for the Toyota. So Monza were a bad track, but we skipped it, so not bad for me. And so I hope the next races will be very, very good with the Toyota. And but we will see in the next weeks what will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wish you the best of luck next time out at Qatar, and have a good rest of your evening, mate.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Who should we bring in next? Oh, we might as well keep on the hypercar train, mightn't we? Let's bring in Matteo Bassan as well to come and join us. Matteo Bassan winning that race, but at some point it must have felt for you that Nicholas Ulrich was surely going to be breathing down your neck until the very end.
I am so tired right now. Guys, mentally, it was so much difficult, this race. Ulrich was I don't know, 1 hour and 42, 3, 4 seconds behind me every lap. So, oh my god. Nice to meet you guys. Finally, I can hear your voice. I'm so happy about it. Love your commentary, guys. Love your commentary.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Really. So no, okay, another victory. Okay, I'm so happy about it. But now I need a shower because I'm not enjoying so much this victory right now.
No, yeah, I think it's. I think that's a sentiment being shared by a lot of the field in the silver split at the moment. Is that everyone is very warm and very sweaty. Obviously, a lot of work being put in from everyone on the grid this evening. Fights up and down the order, but a slightly less comfortable win for you than normal. We're used to seeing you win these endurance races and even the sprint races by 17, 18, 19 seconds. Nicholas Ulrich breathing down your neck, but you knew that you had that laps advantage in the pit stops, and that is what made the difference at the end.
Yes, mentally it was really to know that Ulrich has a lap less. It was really, really good for me mentally, and I'm not used to do a lot of lift and coast, so well. I have to improve it because we can see from this race that I need more pace when I do lift and coast at the moment. But anyway, nice victory. So I'm happy. I'm happy about it.
Yeah,
yes, and not really comfortable, the position. I thought that I would have more seconds from another position. So okay, it was really, really tough mentally.
Yeah, absolutely sounds like it. Do you have any? Do you have anything you wanna ask to Matteo, Daniel?
Not really. I'm just quite amazed by the consistency you drove there, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Qatar next week. How are you feeling about this? How are you feeling about Qatar, the track?
I'm really. Let me think. Don't know at the moment because it will be strange. Really, a really strange race. The next one, because I know that it can be the race for winning the championship. So maybe I have to do a calm race, and it will not be a. Oh, so sorry about. So sorry. Right now, I'm not finding the words because I'm so tired. Really, I'm so sweat right now. So sweaty. But anyway, next race will be really difficult, especially mentally, because there will be a lot of emotion going on, and need to be calm. Need to be calm and enjoy it, and try to enjoy it. Qatar, it's a track that I love, so we can try our best. We can try our best.
Yeah,
Good luck.
absolutely.
Good luck with this.
Yeah, we
Thank
wish
you.
you the best of luck for Qatar and have a good rest of your evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Really appreciate it for your commentary. See you in Qatar.
Thank you. Have a
See
good one.
you.
Have a good one in a bit.
Goodbye.
And now we're going to bring down and talk to Mark Warmington, whose race has likely been, whose season, in fact, has likely been rescued by this one race. Mark, obviously, it had been a little bit of a struggle for you so far in the silver split, but coming home in, I believe, what ended up being 4th position for you means a handy points total of, I'm just checking, 18 points in your favour at the end of this race, which for you is going to be absolutely massive in the standings, as it is going to lump you forwards. You were on 12, taking home 18 means you're going to be on 30, so you're going to be, I believe, 7th in the LMGT3 standings come the end of this race provisionally. So how was that for you?
That's ridiculous, right? I don't think I'm going to stay there. I think I managed to pick myself up a penalty right after I finished across the line. So it's been the worst day ever. But then coming home and actually finally getting a result, it's one of those bittersweet things. I will take that any day. We didn't have a great size of GT3 field, so that really helped me. I think it might be because of the whole Independence Day, but after all of the drama getting to the grid, I will definitely take that. The race was interesting as well, so I will take that 100%. I will take that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it sounds like it's been absolutely brilliant for you in terms of being able to get this done as well. Do you think that Qatar might be another track where you're able to kind of challenge into that top 10, maybe get something else going?
If I send some positive vibes out, then no. Let's be honest. I'll be 100% honest. So I think I have done an hour at Qatar ever, and that was after the track was released. So maybe last week did about an hour. It took me much longer than usual to figure the track out. And yeah, it took me much longer than usual to figure the track out. So I fully expect that if I can qualify 10th, I will take that as a result. If I can finish 10th, I will be ecstatic. I fully expect everyone that's more proficient around there to have like a second on me, maybe even 2. But we'll see. Maybe this is when my season turns around. Who knows? Maybe I should be more optimistic.
Yeah, absolutely. There is always a chance. There is always a chance. You know, even if it's possibly only small, there is always a chance that this could be the turning point. And obviously, only needing to be inside the top 10 to retain your seat. If you can pick up a couple of points here and there towards the tail end of the season, there's always a chance that will happen. So I wish you the best of luck. Congratulations on the result this evening as well. Obviously, going to be massive for your championship. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time at Qatar, I expect.
Yeah, no, 100%. Work is about to kick my butt. So I'm praying that I don't miss races because I'm at work as well. But yeah, it's amazing. I didn't think I was going to have any chance of staying inside the top 10 the way my season had started. So if I can do that by the end, I'll be ecstatic. And I can't go before I say thank you to everyone at VMS. You guys put on an amazing series. I didn't think I would get in. I keep watching the series, and I thought that's an amazing set of championships. Maybe I can get into a race once or twice. So to even get on the grid, I'm really, really grateful, you guys. I know the amount of effort you put in to putting this on. So putting on more than one split, kudos to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, mate. You have a good rest of your evening. And,
you guys too.
Yeah, and we'll see you next time out. Thank you.
Cheers. Good night, all.
Have a good one.
Good night. Good night. All right, I believe that is everyone that we had lined up for an interview. I'll just scroll up and have a check. No, it's not.
No.
We've got one more. I do apologise. We've got Frank Van Ginneken, who we will drag in as well. Frank, a good race for you, finishing P5. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that is your highest race result of the season. So a very good result for you.
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a difficult race for me with the mistakes that I made, but I had some awesome fights with Mark Warmington, and it started a bit difficult on the VMS. It's the first time I do a competition, but I can't complain.
Yeah, absolutely. But a P5 finish for you, crucially, brings home 15 points, which at the moment is going to be just enough to sneak you into the top 10 in LMGT3. You're going to move up to, I believe it will be exactly 10th in the LMGT3 standings, which means that as things stand, obviously we're still waiting until the final results are released because we've got to go through our stewarding processes. But at the moment, with 3 races left to run, you would be inside the top 10 and retaining your seat for season 3.
Oh, that would be something. It's the first time I'm doing this kind of thing. I'm driving LMU since December last year, so I'm not too long on this sim. We'll be happy to stay in the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to Qatar for next week. Do you think there's a chance that you'll be able to bring home a decent result there as well?
I can only say I hope so. Qatar is not the easiest of tracks. A little mistake is easily done there with barriers really close to really ruin the game. I just need to give it my all and practice. That's the only thing I can do, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wish you the best of luck for Qatar next time out, and congratulations again for the result this weekend. Been massive for your championship, and we will see you next time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all the support and the energy that you're putting into the series.
Thank you, Frank. Have a good rest of your evening, mate.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Well, Daniel, I mean, if that wasn't a race that had it all, I don't know what was. There was strategy in there that made a massive difference. Close battles, a couple of crashes here and there as well. Issues for cars left, right, and centre. Overall, I think that race pretty much sums up what VMS is all about. The endurance racing here, even in the silver split, is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it is. Surely it is. It gave everything we would love about endurance racing, about LMU, about this whole series and the whole project of VMS. So it was really an extraordinary race. It had everything, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is everything for this evening from the BPtuning Contender Series. However, it is not everything this week from VMS. On Sunday evening, we have got the Coach Dave Delta Pro Series SimGrid Platinum Split making their return for round number 5, which is going to be at Monza, a sprint race at Monza for the Platinum Split drivers this weekend. So make sure to tune in. That race, that stream, in fact, will be starting at 6:25 p.m. BST, the same as it did this evening. So make sure to tune in then, where you will have, I believe it'll be Edward Hunter and Chris Buxton commentating. So make sure to tune in then for the very top flight of drivers here at the Virtual Motorsport Series, fighting it out for their share of a $1,000 prize pool. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. I've been Ollie Shakespeare, he's been Daniel Krylov, and we will see you next time.
Goodbye.